Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello, my space travelers. Welcome to Friday night. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in as we get ready to talk cryptids, monsters. Eric Altman from Pennsylvania is here, a good friend of this show, and we can't wait to have him back on. It's been about a year and a half since we've had Eric on, and I can't wait to catch up with him. You're in for a real treat tonight. We have race fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman and his goatee taking home a silver. Kevin Kennedy with a nice bronze medal tonight. Chris 716, Dino Bravo, Michael Morris. Nice to see you all. Jimmy Gonzalez, Road Flare. How you doing? And there's my buddy Scott. Scott, the climate researcher. He'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Lightwalkers, how are you? Forrest Louie, Mama Susan, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, and Sweet Amy WC. Nice to have you here. Continuing on with our roll call tonight. Let's see where we're going. Lee the B, Kurt M. Nice to have you both here. Desert Rat, thank you for coming on in. And let's see here. Who else do we have? Scrolling on down. T-Bone, my man, how are you? Nice to see you. Number 46 in your program, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson. There he is. W. David Page, Noble Patrick, Millennium, my man. Nice to see you. Jennifer Patterson, Digger Dog, thank you for coming on in. Keyshawn is here. Keyshawn will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Right on. Thank you, Forrest Louie, for kicking off the super chat tonight. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. And hello and good evening to you. Laura Lobbs, how are you? Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. And JSCO, Little Cam over on Twitch. How you doing? Digger Dog, thank you for coming on in. Mama Catherine, mwah! I love you, my dear. Hope you're having a great evening. Pam Harris, Marty Burback, Lulu Bell, thank you for coming on in. David Hayworth, good to see you as we continue on with our roll call here. Spirit Fox 72, how you doing? Good to have you back. Bobbert, good to have you here, my friend, as we continue on with our roll call tonight. And who else is here? Dragonfly, thank you for coming on in. And let's see, Alien Believers. Newton, nice to see you again. Eternity Eternal. Pam Harris, thank you for joining us tonight. And who else is here? Political Foolishness. Nice to see you back. And we're done there. Let's check over on Facebook. Who's hanging out here? Mike Walker. How you doing, buddy? Hope you're having a good time. And Susan Lawrence, nice to see you. Thank you for coming on in. And Poncho Zorch, good to see you. Robert Anthony, thank you for joining us again. River Dog, what's happening? Nina Williams, thank you for joining us once again. God, we got a good crowd here tonight already. You guys are early and ready. Let's get the radio side started, shall we? Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're delving into the search for Bigfoot, chasing down the big monsters Eric Altman, our guest tonight out of the beautiful state of Pennsylvania. We'll get to him momentarily as we are on roll call right now, awaiting Bill WD-40 to come on in and lube us up for tonight's show. We're waiting. While we're waiting, want to remind you the super chat is open. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis as well. Remember that our store is open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Why? Because we do not have ugly swag, people. Nothing ugly. Yeah, our clothing you can wear to more places than just the paint store to get new paint for your bathroom. It's really nice. Hi, Human Carl and Bill WD-40. Bill WD-40 currently lubing it up for tonight, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth, and Bill provides that. You don't want to be rigid. No, never want to be rigid. Hi, Human Carl again. They're over on Spreaker, hanging on out. Mama Catherine, thank you for that super chat. Paul Nicholas, thank you for joining us. Do me a favor, everybody. Get your horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have some fun tonight chasing down monsters. Eric Altman is going to join us here momentarily to have some fun with us. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing joins us for another spooky story. Following that up, we have Courtney Marcassani with the UFO Report. All right, we're going to get some fun into this because Eric Altman is one of those guys who I very rarely give a free pass to come on anytime they want. But to believe me, we do that with Eric. Why? He's just one of those cool dudes, man, who brings raw information and lets you pick and decide whether or not you believe it or not. But the one thing that he is, meticulous with his work. For over 32 years, he has studied the paranormal and the Bigfoot phenomena. He is a part of the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society. Eric was the director from 2000 to 2012 when he took a leave of absence from the role to concentrate on other projects. He's still an active member of the group, continues researching Bigfoot, and he's decided to come out of the woodwork once again with some amazing stories that are going to make our jaws drop. Eric Altman, my man, it's been a while since we've had you on Spaced Out Radio. The beard is looking tight. You're looking good, my friend. How you been?
I'm well, Dave. You look good. I like the haircut, and you shaved your beard off, man.
I know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. The beard will be coming back, just not as frizzy as it was before, but it'll come back. I got a double chin I have to hide. I didn't realize it was that large.
That's why I have my beard too. So
you literally went internet silent for about a good year and a half. I don't know what happened. All right. So if you want to talk about it, you can. But all of a sudden, you've decided that it's time to come back out and start talking about these cryptid creatures and paranormal experiences again. Do you mind if I ask, where the hell have you been?
No, I don't mind. I'll be honest with you. I got tired of the arguing and the fighting and the backbiting that was going on social media and um, the Bigfoot community, the paranormal community, the UFO community, just everybody at its throats. I needed a break from it, so I kind of just stepped away and decided, I'm gonna be where I'm most comfortable at and where I excel at, and that's out in the forest. And that's where I spent the last year and a half is just hitting the woods every weekend, um, investigating cases with my good friend and mentor Stan Gordon, who you've had on the show as a guest many times. Stan, I've known for almost, gosh, too long, almost 40 plus years now. And we've been hitting the woods investigating cases, not only Bigfoot cases, but Thunderbird cases. We've looked into several over the last year and a half. Some of these strange orbs of light that
Mhm.
have come into the fray, if you will. People are experiencing them or reporting them, and we've been checking those out. And I've had some experiences of my own that we'll be talking about a little bit later on the show tonight. But yeah, I decided about a couple months ago to kind of get back and involved in things, and just kind of shut that other noise off and worry about the research and getting out what I've been doing. And I've been busy, man. I've been busy just kind of doing research and doing my own kind of thing.
I gotta ask you, what is it like working with Stan Gordon? I mean, this is a legend. There aren't many legends left in this field, Eric, and Stan Gordon is one that definitely needs to be up there on a pedestal. I mean, he's critical, he is scientific, he is skeptical, but he is very open-minded to the sightings that people are having and works them to a T. And never mind the fact that the man never has a bad hair day. You'd swear he has a toupee on, but his hair is always perfect as well. I don't know how he does it, but on a serious note, what's it like working with such a legend?
Oh, it's you really can't put into words what it's like to work with him because I mean you pretty much summed up Stan Gordon to a T. I've known him since I've been 13 years old. I have followed his research from that age forward. And the last 20 plus 25, 26 years, I've had the pleasure of working very closely with him on many, many cases. Um, we bounce things off of each other. We talk on the phone once a week at least. We communicate almost daily by email. He's like a second father to me and a fantastic mentor. I've learned so much from Stan over the years, over the decades. And just it's such a joy to hear his stories from when he was young doing this, and he's been doing this for 60, almost 63, 64 years now. And it's just an honor and such a privilege to be able to call Stan not only a friend but a mentor, and just to learn and just I couldn't consider myself any luckier.
I could just imagine what you have learned from him and even things you don't even know you've learned that have just ended up gluing to you and being part of your daily research. I mean, that is just absolutely phenomenal. Why do you think, and this is the last question I'm going to ask about Stan, why do you think, with all of his knowledge that he has remained still very open-minded to a lot of these cryptids? I mean, look, you were out chasing Bigfoot and Dogman, but it goes well beyond that. It goes into Thunderbirds, it goes into gnomes, it goes into all of these little cryptid creatures like puckwedgies and everything in between. And he's open-minded to when somebody says, I've had this experience. Then he takes them down a technical road to see if they're BSing or not. Okay. But the information he has been able to gather over the years, a lot of people get stifled, a lot of people get fed up, but he doesn't. He keeps the drive alive. How does he do that?
I think he has that fascination for solving mysteries and wanting to know what's out there. He's had it since the age of 10, and he's, like I said, 64 years now. He's been at this, and he never gets tired of doing it. When I talk to him weekly, the cases that he tells me he's getting from people, and he's talked to people, and then we go out and actually meet them at the location, or we investigate together. It's some of the strangest and most unusual things you've probably ever heard of. It's almost fictional what he gets. It's so hard to believe some of the things, but he takes people for their word. He listens to what they have to say. As you mentioned, he puts them through a pretty rigorous standard that he has to make sure that they're not BSing him. And a lot of the stuff that he's collected over the years, case wise and report wise, are so similar to so many other cases he's received. And he doesn't give out witness names or exact locations to protect the identity of the witness and to protect the integrity of the report in the case. So these people don't know each other. They don't know who's reporting it, and it's amazing to hear the feedback that he gets not only from the witnesses but from the public because of how stringent he is on these cases. He keeps them the people very low profile, but he puts out a lot of great information, and I think that really drives him because people have such a trust in him. They come to him in mass numbers. It's amazing how many people are aware of him and what he does and confide in him almost on a daily basis, and sometimes multiple times on a day. It's just mind boggling.
I could just imagine. I could just imagine how fun that is. One of these days, it's honestly my dream to head to Pennsylvania and be able to actually go into the forest with you and Stan and the crypto guru Ronald Murphy and many others who have had the pleasure to have on this show from your area. I mean, what is it about Pennsylvania that makes there's that triangle of Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania that just seems to make everything a little bit more dark and creepy?
Yeah, you're right. And I've had the pleasure of researching in all three states, and there's some strange and unusual phenomenon that goes on here. The UFO sightings are nonstop. They continue to this day. I've had several of my own possible sightings of UAPs or UFOs, whatever you want to call them. I've captured something pretty crazy on my iPhone cell phone camera last year in my own backyard, of all places, that Stan has looked at. He's pretty convinced that there's something not normal that I captured on my camera. Um, the UFOs are just the tip of the iceberg, though. There's so many strange creatures that have been reported and seen in Pennsylvania. Bigfoot, of course, being at the top of the list. That's the most commonly reported. The Dogman, the sightings continue. I've had several cases that I've looked into over the years. Not a big Dogman fan myself, but I get the cases. The Rake has made its appearance here in Pennsylvania. People see this weird, scaly, grayish, white colored scrawny looking thing, if you want to call it that. Um, the Thunderbirds, the Squonk. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show as well. The Squonk has kind of made a resurgence from history into popular culture again here in Pennsylvania. The hauntings. There's so many haunted locations in Pennsylvania that we could talk about. We could have a whole show on just haunted locations. There's just such a strange vibe here in Pennsylvania that most people don't realize or know about unless they follow researchers like Stan Gordon or the crypto guru Ron Murphy, or even our good friend Butch Witkowski, who passed away a few years ago.
God
The
bless him.
stories, yeah, the stories that he used to tell when he come on your show, and the stories that he and I used to exchange over the years. There's just so much rich lore and legend and phenomenon going on here in Pennsylvania and even into southeastern Ohio and West Virginia that it just boggles the mind. And what causes it? What's the reason behind it? I don't have an answer, but it continues year after year, day after day. It's just an ongoing phenomenon that never seems to stop.
This show every night when we close out our YouTube section ends with Butch saying goodnight to us. The last words I ever said to him. And our cartoonist Dirty Filth, this still makes me cry. He made this piece of art for
Nice.
Butch when he left, and it's Butch being sucked up into a UFO, and it says, "See you later, Dave. Catch you on the flip side." And God, it still hits me. Still hits me. Hard to believe it's been 2 years since we lost the legend, man.
Yep.
But oh, you're right. You're right about it. Sorry to interrupt on that one, but I didn't know if you knew that or not, that we ended each show with Butch.
Very cool. Butch was an enigma in himself.
Yeah, God. Oh, what a crazy character. What a
Absolutely.
crazy character. But, here you are working away the last year and a half, pretty much in silence. You went internet quiet, which I actually am quite envious about you for doing that. What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself? Just concentrating on the task at hand rather than worrying about everything else.
Well, I learned that it's best for your psyche and for your mental health to drown out all the other garbage that's going on around and focus strictly on the research and going out in the field and actually investigating cases without having all that background noise going on. That to me was a huge mental break that I needed, because you can lose focus and you can lose track of what you're supposed to be doing. And what we're supposed to be doing is research. We're supposed to be looking for answers, trying to get to the bottom of these amazing mysteries that are out there. And when you're arguing with people and they're fighting back and forth and bringing that to the forefront, and the research, which is most important, gets buried, people lose track of what's important and they're too busy arguing over this and that. Their Bigfoot is not related to this, or UFOs are not related to that, or this is the cause of this phenomenon. There's too much background noise going on that drowns out the research. And for the last year and a half, as you're right, I went internet silent on social media, and kind of focused on the forest. Getting out there, trying to see if I could solve some of these mysteries, not for the public, not for anybody else's benefit, but for my own. You know, I'm, I want to get to the answers for myself, because I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I've investigated hundreds of cases. I've talked to hundreds of eyewitnesses, not just in the Bigfoot field. That's my forte and my strong point, but you know, in the paranormal world, in the UFO world, I want to try to get the answers for myself. So pushing all that noise aside was a huge benefit for me, because it helped me focus on what's most important, and that's the research. That's getting out there, boots on the ground, and doing that, and not worrying about you know who's looking at me, or oh, I got to get on Facebook and put this out there for everybody because I'm a great researcher. I don't need that stuff. I don't need that kind of recognition. I just want to get out there and get the answers. And if I can do it, and if I can present some great stories to people that want to hear them, or share some research information that I found, or some patterns I might have learned over the past year and a half, that's what's most important to me.
Eric Altman is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. What did you learn? What did you find out that maybe you wouldn't have learned in other times? Was it a change in your own investigation techniques? Was it uh, systematically what you were learning out in the field? Give me a little hint here.
Well, I learned that not only the Bigfoot phenomenon is a lot stranger than I first interpreted and thought it might be, but I've learned that there's other things going on out in the forest that I read about and wasn't sure if they were true or not. Some of the things that I've experienced really kind of opened my eyes and widened my mind and thinking a little bit, simply because of personal experiences. Um, my research techniques really haven't changed much. I'm still doing pretty much the same thing I was doing before, trying to capture and document things through audio recordings and video, and thermal, and that sort of thing. I want to document it. No, not for anybody else's benefit. I really don't care what people think, what I'm doing about what I'm doing out there. It's for my own benefit, for my small team that we go out there, and we're just enjoying the research. We're enjoying the being outdoors, enjoying the experience we have. And man, there's some crazy stuff going on out there, Dave, that I've experienced, that my research partner, my family members have experienced. And yeah, Digger Dog, I saw put in the chat, we're just starting to scratch the surface, and he's absolutely right.
You know what? It makes it exciting. It makes it worthwhile to go out there. Are you the kind of guy or researcher? Because I really don't know who lets the creatures come to him, or are you out there walking trails and looking for evidence and looking deep into the forest, taking deer trails? How do you do it?
A little bit of both. I guess it depends on where I'm at and the time of year. And um, the kind of mood I am in that day. Some days I go out and knock on trees and call and whoop and try to get something up and moving in the woods, especially if it's quiet and we're kind of walking through the trails and hitting the forest and there's nothing going on. We want to try to stir something up. Sure, we're going to be a little more proactive. Other times we've gone out there and we've had success right away. We've had activity happening where we weren't even trying to elicit um, calls and sounds and wood knocks. So we just kind of were quiet, listen, and we try to take it all in, record it, and document it, and hopefully it continues. So it really depends on, I think, the situation, what we're dealing with in the woods that particular time. I think the time of the year has a lot to do with it too, because I noticed that in the winter months when we're out there, things are a lot quieter. Things don't seem to be moving around as much, especially wildlife, and we don't hear a lot. So we do a little bit more active, progressive research where we're making noise, we're call blasting various Bigfoot sounds, alleged Bigfoot sounds. We're knocking on trees. We're trying to get something up and moving around, stirred up and responding to us. And in the summer months, fall months, we're having better success without doing that. So I think it's a little bit of everything that I try to do.
Right. I have a secret little technique that I use. My son can pick them up like anything.
Cool.
Yeah, I believe, I literally believe, and it's been tested with my buddies around that he can actually. I don't know if he's getting telepathic communication, okay, but he just knows when they're around, and that's when we start getting things happening. It's the weirdest thing, man, to absolutely watch. Like he'll be playing around in our area, and all of a sudden he'll be like, stand up, and he'll be like, "Dad, they're around."
Hmm.
Okay, where? Well, they're over here. How many of them? Just one. Or he'll be like, "There's two of them," or "There's a few of them around today." Right? I said, and I'll just start asking him questions like, and the thing is, I like it's a very adult conversation that we're having. And I think he likes the fact that the dear old dad's taking him seriously and not just saying, "Oh, just go play." You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So it's very interesting to see how it works, because they're not there every day. And I'm sure they're not there every day for you. So how do you guys call them in when it's quite a silent day or night?
Well, we have a couple things that we use, and it's all trial and error because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Um, Sometimes we bat zero. We don't have any luck with it. But we've tried knocking. We have tried call blasting other animal sounds, and I'm talking wounded rabbit, coyote sounds, deer sounds, just your typical wildlife. We've tried to broadcast that to see if we get a response. We've sat and talked with each other in the woods, not yelling and screaming, but just having a casual conversation because there's the theory that people have put out there that if you just act normal and not like you're looking for them, actively looking for them, just having a conversation, they'll be curious and come around and get stirred up. So we've tried that. We've tried the knocking on the trees. Um, we've tried whistling. We've tried a variety of different things to try to get them stirred up and to interact with us. And sometimes we have luck where we get something to interact with us. Most of the time, we don't have luck with it. It's quiet, or as I mentioned earlier, it's already active when we get there, so we don't have to do anything to try to get the animals to react or act with us. And you mentioned about your son, where he said he can sense them. He has a vibe that they're around. I have a very good friend that I've known for almost 20, maybe 25 years now. That he's the same way. He doesn't claim to be psychic. He doesn't claim to have them communicating with him. But we go out in the woods together. He has this vibe. He'll say, um, "This thing is there." He'll point the direction, and sure enough, we have activity.
There we go. Eric Altman is here tonight talking Sasquatch. We're going to find out about some of his hot spots that is producing some incredible evidence of Sasquatch and paranormal next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear. Hi, SG Nav Spotter. The lovely and talented Kira, nice to see you. Wild Man's mom, welcome to SOR chat. What does she say? It's a pull. Feels like a notice tug. Ask your son to tell you how he feels when he touched back to count them. I will do that. I will do that. I'm very fascinated by it. Purple-haired Pixie Lara, nice to see you. Major Lee, thanks for coming on in. And we are caught up on people so far. There we go. Oh, I'm pumped up for this next half hour, man. Pumped up.
Yeah, there's some. We'll talk about a couple places that we go to, and there's one place that we call Area X that we've been hitting hard and heavy the last 2 years, and have had some crazy, crazy stuff happen there.
Nice. Isn't it? Yeah, and I'll say this off the air, but hi, Skip to my Lou. How you doing? Isn't it a lot more fun when you find an area where everything happens, not just Bigfoot? Like every time you go there, you don't know what you're going to get because it's like Baskin Robbins with 31 different flavors of woo out there.
Yeah, it's we've had some really strange things going on out there, and you never know what's going to happen when you go out there. Sometimes it's nothing, but sometimes there's some crazy stuff that goes on out there, and we just kind of walk away like, "What was that?"
Oh yeah. Do you ever in your area of this hotspot, do you ever get scared out?
I have not gotten scared out of this area. Um, I know some the vibe in that area is really creepy, and it's a really ominous vibe. Like you shouldn't be there, but I've never gotten scared to the point where I'm like, "Let's go, we got to leave."
We we've had that ominous vibe a number of times at ours, but the one time, man, it was hi Ozzy Ange, how are you? The one time though, dude, we were there 20 minutes. I would not let my son out of my truck, and my truck never stopped running. The doors were always open except the into the back where my son was. And within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we were gone. Like it was just there was something out there that we did not want to see. And it started the second we turned up our logging road. The second we turned up there, like I
Mhm.
was driving and I kept on seeing um pareidolia images of alien gray heads looking from behind trees. But then
Mhm.
when you got up to the tree, it wasn't that. It was actually the way the branches were formed. And that happened 8, 9, 10 times on the way up. And my other people who were with me, they were getting like really heavy paranormal uh like energy on their shoulders and headaches and everything from and we have to once we turn onto our logging road, we have to go up about 5, 6 miles. And it was hitting us hard. Like I've never felt that before there since.
Yeah, we've had that happen to us too, where there's stuff going on, and it's stuff that I've never experienced. And after 25 years of seeing things in the woods that shouldn't be there, and I'm not talking Bigfoot, I'm talking lights, I'm talking flashes, um, things that just should not be there, and things that should not
Mhm.
be happening. It can be unnerving because if you're not used to it or not expecting it, and it happens, you're like, wait a minute, what the heck was that? And then
Oh
you
yeah,
you
dude.
question your eyes, you question your senses. You're like, did I just really see that? And I've had some. We'll talk about some of the things that I've seen. I still scratch
Well,
my head over it.
and it's funny, we went back the week after and the energy was completely
Hmm.
different.
Yep.
Like it was like welcoming, like, "Hey, you're back.
Hmm.
Welcome." I talked to I don't know if you have ever talked to Robin Haynes.
I have not.
Uh okay, she is like a real brilliant psychic intuitive when it comes to cryptids, and she is actually connected with the ones where I was, and apparently there was really something bad in the forest that night that even the Sasquatch were like, "Stay the hell away."
Hmm.
But we got 15 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you to Louie, Mama Catherine, and T Bone for the super chats. Continue on, people. Here we go with the next half hour. Stay tuned. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Eric Altman. We're talking chasing down monsters, and he's got some exciting stories that he's going to share with us in a place he calls Area X. Yeah, it doesn't get more mysterious than that. Eric, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave. Glad to be with you tonight.
All right. Area X, man. You got me worked up on this one. Tell me about it. How'd you find it?
Well, we actually found it by accident. And how we stumbled across this area, I was contacted in the late winter of 2021 by a witness who had a sighting not far from where she worked. And one night she was outside. She works a night shift, and she was outside taking a break. And while she was outside, she had heard some really strange whistling sounds coming off the wooded hillside across from the building from where she works at. And she's very familiar with the outdoors. Her husband is a lifelong hunter and outdoorsman. They camp. They travel all through West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania. They camp a lot. They jeep on the off road trails. So she's very familiar with outdoor sounds, and she was hearing whistling sound coming off the hill that she had never heard before. So she had reached out to me and let me know about it, and told me about this weird sound. And I made a trip down to the location where she works at, and I know the area where she's had this experience. There have been several Bigfoot sightings in the immediate area in the recent past year. So I wanted to go down and check it out and see if perhaps what she was hearing might have been a Bigfoot that was whistling on the wooded hillside. So we talked about her experience. She showed me where it was coming from, and she offered to take us on some of the logging roads that go through this wooded area, not far from her building where she heard these whistling. So I agreed to follow her, and I had my research partner Tom with me, my son in the back seat, and she led the way driving the Jeep with her husband. And she took us up this back logging road, not far from where she works at, probably about a mile or two. And as we're driving this back road, and we're good, maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles into the woods, um, all of a sudden she's leading the road on this logging road. She stops the Jeep, and we stop behind her. She gets out and comes back and says she witnessed something run across the front of her Jeep that she really couldn't identify. She thought maybe it was a bear or it could have been a deer, but she really had no idea. Something just big and dark colored bolted across in front of the Jeep. So while we're standing there, we're hearing a little noise down in the forest below us on the right side of the logging road going down the hill. And I grabbed my thermal FLIR and went over, and we started scanning the forest to see what we could see. And sure enough, we saw some kind of heat signature in the forest, but we couldn't make out what it was. It was pretty far away from us, maybe 50, 75 yards. It was just a big blur of heat. And we were watching this thing for a while, and I sent my research partner Tom back to my truck, and I said, "Get in the back of my truck and get my wood knocker out of the truck, and we're going to try knocking and see if we can get this thing to move or stir it up." So he gets in the back of my truck, and he's looking for my wood knocker, which is on the floor of the back of my pickup. And as we're kind of scanning the area, we're still watching this heat source down in the trees. Um, no more than 10 feet behind my pickup truck, we hear this real loud, real crisp wood knock. And we all thought it was Tom. We turned to look, but Tom is still buried in the back of my truck looking for my wood knocker on the floor, and it wasn't him. So we were like kind of puzzled. We are like, Tom, was that you? He said, No, I've been in the truck. We're like, well, there's something behind the truck that made a loud wood knock. And for people that don't know what wood knocks are, um, Bigfoot researchers, believe that the creatures communicate with each other by knocking on trees with branches. It's a form of communication, and they're called wood knocks. We heard this very loud and crisp right behind the truck. So we all kind of looked at each other puzzled. We asked Tom. He said it wasn't him. He was in my truck. So I grabbed my FLIR and went to the back of my pickup truck. And on the opposite side of the truck, the road, on the right side of my truck, we began to hear very heavy footfalls, like there was a large animal moving through the brush. Now, this was late January, early February. So there's not a lot of leaves or foliage on the trees or brush. You can see a good distance into the trees with a flashlight, and especially the thermal FLIR. And we're hearing these distinct footfalls moving through the trees and the brush. And I'm scanning with the thermal FLIR and I'm seeing nothing. And I'm thinking to myself, this is really odd. I should be seeing, if it's a bear, if it's a deer or a person, I should be seeing a heat source. But we would hear branches snap, branches break. We would hear the heavy footfalls, but we could see no heat source. And we spent 10 or 15 minutes scanning this area with the thermal FLIR, trying to see what was making this sounds moving around. And we never could see it. So after about 10 or 15 minutes, we decided, well, there's something here moving around. Let's maybe move down the road a little bit further and see if we can maybe draw it out or it'll run across the road or whatever. But we decided to move on. And we got down the road maybe about another half a mile, and the Jeep stopped again. And the husband got out and came back and said, There's something really strange going on up here. We said, What do you mean? And he said, Something threw a piece of wood or something at my truck and hit the panel of his Jeep. And it didn't make a dent, but it was like a soft thud on the side of his Jeep, like something was thrown from the woods. And again, we started scanning with thermal FLIR and didn't see anything. And the female witness says that she saw a bright flash of light on her right side down the hillside. And it went from being a bright flash of light all the way down to the size of a firefly, floated through the trees for a few moments, and then vanished. She could no longer see it. And then she could hear heavy footfalls coming up the hill towards her Jeep, like something was running at a heavy pace towards her Jeep, but she saw nothing. She heard it, but saw nothing. And we just kind of sat there looking at each other like, what the heck is going on here? This is kind of weird. So that was our first introduction to something strange going on in that area. Was that night with those few little experiences. Now, I can't say it was a Bigfoot. I can't say it was aliens. I can't say there were ghost lights, but there was something going on, and it intrigued us enough where we decided to come back the following week and see if we could set up along the road and maybe have some more experiences. And sure enough, we came back. We had some additional experiences. We heard more wood knocks. We heard very loud. The only way to describe them is high pitched howls that would emanate through the forest for 15, 20 seconds. And they seemed to be coming behind us, in front of us. And my first reaction was maybe we do have a Bigfoot running around up here in the woods. That would explain the whistling that she had heard 2
Yeah.
weeks prior. That would explain the knocks that we had heard, maybe the heavy
Mhm.
footfalls. So we were thinking there was Bigfoot activity going on in those woods. Uh,
Can I just cut you off right there?
sure.
Because with everybody that we have in North America, maybe it's a good time to kind of say what kind of animals you have in the forest there. So that way people aren't like when you say, well, we're hearing all sorts of howls, so they're not thinking that it's maybe coyotes or wolves or something along those lines.
Right. In the forests of southwestern Pennsylvania, we have deer, black bear. We do have a very large coyote population, but the howls that we were hearing weren't coyote. Um, we did hear coyote earlier that were yipping and barking and even howling, and they were much different in sound. this was a lone animal, and normally coyotes are in packs or they have a small number of them, and that's what we were hearing before this howl. This howl was long, 15 seconds long, and it was high pitched. It wasn't a bear, it wasn't a raccoon or a possum, a deer. It wasn't even the coyotes. So it was nothing that we've ever heard before, and it certainly didn't sound human. It was very high pitched and nothing like I've ever heard before. So that's why I started thinking maybe we have Bigfoot activity going on in these woods. Is because of the knocks, the heavy footfalls, the high pitched howling that we had heard. I couldn't explain the flash of light that the female witness saw that shrunk down to the size of a firefly that she claimed she saw. But a few weeks after that, we kept coming back up there and we kept having little small experiences, nothing major that really made us think this was a hot spot. Just little things that would happen in the woods, knocking or something moving around in the trees, um, stuff like that. So we weren't overly alerted to this possibly being a hot spot until mid-February. In mid-February, we went up there and we began to experience something that's not typically Bigfoot phenomenon. These strange orbs of light started showing up in the forest all around us, and I'm talking green balls of light, bluish white balls of light, reddish colored balls of light, high up in the trees, low on the ground, floating through the trees. I've never seen anything like that. I've never experienced anything like that. And it wasn't just myself experiencing, there were multiple eyewitnesses. I would probably count the first time that we had one of those types of experiences, there was probably 6 or 7 eyewitnesses that were there that not only saw the balls of light, but they saw them floating through the trees. One of our team members had a face to face encounter with a red light and a white light that he
Oh
described.
my.
He described them as flashlights, like almost like a light on a camera, if you will. Like somebody's walking up to you holding a camera up at your face, and they were both coming at him. And he said one was about the size of a cantaloupe, maybe a smaller basketball, and one was the size of probably a softball. And they were floating through the woods right at him. And they got within 5 feet of his face, and he thought it was one of the other researchers who were documenting this with the camera. And he went to say that person's name, and both lights went out. And he immediately took his flashlight out and shined it around, and there's nobody there. There's nothing there in front of him. There was no source for the lights. There was it was just amazing. And these little things like this started happening. Um, Late February, we went up with a film crew to film a documentary show on it's on YouTube right now. Um, and while we were there with the film crew, the first thing that happened that night was we heard the loud, high pitched howling, and they actually captured that on camera. And they commented about hearing that high pitched howling. As the evening progressed, the lights started showing up again, and I had seen 3 bluish green balls of light bouncing through the trees in a line, almost as if there were people walking in a straight line. They were joined by a fourth red ball of light that disappeared. They were just gone. And I was standing, leaning in the witness's pickup truck talking to him, saw these things. His son saw them, the witness saw them, 3 of us saw them, and we ran towards it, and there was nothing there. Nothing there. And Ron Murphy was actually with us on this trip when they were documenting this for this film for YouTube. And he began to see what looked like an orange colored basketball sized shaped light in the treetops. And it was almost like it was shining towards us, but it was also shining to the other research group who was at the other end of the road. And we began to see these lights moving all through the trees. Ron witnessed this himself, and you can talk with him when he's on next about it. My son saw them. Um, my research partners saw them. Uh, Several members of the team saw them that night, and they were captured on film for the documentary film that was put on YouTube. So we were happy about that to actually show that yeah, we're not crazy. We're not just seeing pareidolia. These were actually captured and they're documented. So that began our really intense research with this Area X, as we call it, because just so much stuff had happened from the end of January, beginning of February to the end of February in that short period of
Nice.
time.
Nice. Is it the flora, the fauna that kind of makes or the terrain that kind of makes this place a hot spot?
We're not sure if it is or not because one of the instances we had, we take EMF detectors with us, and we take Geiger counters with us, and we try to measure for different environmental conditions if something
Yeah.
happens. Let's say if there's something going on with the light phenomenon, we try to take a measurement. Well, one night while we arrived, probably about 7:30 in the evening, we had just gotten out of the trucks and we were just getting equipment set up, parabolics, thermal equipment, camera set up for recording, and something in the ravine just down the hill from where we parked began howling at us. And it wasn't just like a couple howls and it left. This went on for 45 minutes, and it would howl and whoop, make like a primate sounding whoop sound, and it just went on. It went on for every couple minutes. It would just do it, and it wasn't doing it to us when we were trying to get it to respond to us because we were calling it to it, and it wouldn't respond. But it got to the point where I thought, okay, well maybe somebody has a recorder down in the forest there. Maybe somebody set up a recorder with a speaker and they're just playing this on a loop. But we tried to make our way down to the sound where it was coming from. We never found any recorder. We never found any recording device or stereo system blasting any sounds. But the
Right.
EMF detector we had and the Geiger counter we had all of a sudden just started spiking. We were getting these high levels of energy while this thing was making these sounds. And there are no um, electrical lines where we're at. There are no telephone lines where we're at. We're far enough away from the trucks and the vehicles that we know it's not from that. We're far enough away from um, the parabolic microphones, any recording equipment, any video equipment to know the electrical spikes aren't coming from that. So we're getting spikes in the middle of the forest where there's nothing around, and there shouldn't be electromagnetic fields spiking like that, or high readings on the Geiger counter, like there's a high radiation field there. So we were just puzzled, absolutely puzzled by it.
Really? I mean, I look at that and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, it's great to have a mystery, but were there any patterns that you noticed starting to form around this area?
We're starting to notice that there are the light patterns seem to appear um, in certain weather conditions. Like if we've been there when it's really, really hot and dry, and
Right.
they've appeared. If it's raining and cooler, they don't seem to appear. And we've also noticed that when there's a full moon or getting close to a full moon, these lights have appeared too. So that's something we've noted. We don't know if there's a connection or not, or maybe it's just a coincidence, but those are some of the things, the patterns we've noticed. And they seem to be taking place on this roadway that leads into where we park our vehicles. It's a small, maybe, I would say from the main logging road in, it's a side shoot road that runs down maybe about a quarter of a mile to where we park. And in that
Hmm.
quarter-mile section, that's where it seems to be all the lights going on this road.
Right.
What it is, I have no idea. We haven't figured that out yet.
Is the spot hotter during the day than at night results to actions going on by whatever creatures are out there?
We've been up there during the day, and we haven't had anything happen during the day. It's been quiet. I should say we would shouldn't say we haven't had anything happen. The weirdest thing we've had happen during the day is what I call the cone of silence. And what I mean by that is during the day you're hearing birds, you're hearing insects, you're hearing normal wildlife sounds, and then it just all stops. And
Hmm.
you could literally drop a pin on the ground and hear the pin hit. It's that quiet.
Isn't that the most eeriest thing that happens?
It is, and
Scares me.
it doesn't last long. It lasts for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden the animals start coming alive again and making their noises, and the birds and all the sounds come back. We had Stan up there with us one time. We got there on a Saturday afternoon. we wanted to take him up and show him this area to get his thoughts. And he was looking around. He was saying, "Yeah, this place is pretty creepy. It's pretty dark and desolate." And I said, "Yeah, but you haven't been here when the things happen at night, the lights and the weird sounds we're hearing." And I'll get to the metallic sounds we've been hearing here in a moment. But I was telling him about some of the experiences we had up there. And all of a sudden, everything just went quiet. And Stan looked at me and goes, "Do you hear that?" And I said, "No." And he said, "There's no sounds at all. It's like everything was like a light
Mm.
switch was just turned off." And I said, "Well, that's what I mean. I'm not hearing anything." It just went dead silent. And he and I called it the cone of silence. And he's stated before to me about this that seems to happen when there's a large predator in the area or something that the animals or insects are afraid of, some kind of
Mm.
presence that's causing them to go quiet. And we never heard any footfalls. We never heard any branches breaking or wood knocks or anything like that when it goes quiet. It just goes quiet. And I don't know. I don't have an explanation for it, but it is a very, very creepy feeling when you're in the woods that deep, and all of a sudden everything just stops because they know something's there, and they're letting you know something's there by their silence.
Eric Altman is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We have him for another 3 minutes here till we get to the top of the hour. Eric, what kind of evidence you've been building this up? This area X up. What kind of evidence are you finding there?
Well, we've captured some very compelling audio sounds. I mentioned the howling in the ravine close to us. I had got my parabolic mic set up, and we got the recording equipment set up. And sure enough, we were able to capture for probably a good half an hour these just constant sounds that happen. It was a Friday night, and our first response was, okay, somebody dropped their dog off in the middle of the woods to dump the dog, and that's what we're hearing is a dog howling, and it just kept going on and on and on again. When we came back the following night, the same exact thing happened, Dave. We parked our trucks,
Really?
we were getting out of our trucks, and a similar sound, not the same sound, but a similar sound began to happen. And it was coming from the same ravine. Now, what's different is the first night we thought it might have been a dog. We never found the dog, but we heard these howls and these whooping type sounds. I
Yeah.
captured that on recording. The second
Ooh,
night, it sounded like an animal that was mimicking the sounds from the night before. It wasn't the same sounds. They were higher pitched and longer in duration, but it was almost like something was trying to imitate the sounds from the night before. And it went on for the same duration, almost 45 minutes.
wow. Did you ever see the creature?
No, nope. We just kind of stood there listening to it and trying to get it in a recording. At one point, I tried to go into the woods, and this was in June of 2022 when this happened, and the foliage was very thick, and I didn't
Hmm.
have a machete with me to cut my way through it. So I tried to make my way through as best I could to get towards the sounds. But whenever I would get close to it, it would stop, and when I backed out away and got closer towards the trucks, it would start again. And I was kind of surprised. I was like, "Man, something's playing with us." It was almost like it was intelligent enough that we were getting close to it, it would stop. We'd move away from it, it would start again.
Right. My goodness. And it never let you see it.
Nope, we never got to see it.
What do you think the stubbornness of the creature is about, making things happen all around you, but will never allow you to see it? You may catch a glimpse, but you never get to see it fully.
Well, I'm not sure what the stubbornness is of these creatures. My personal thinking is they know you're there and they want to try to drive you out of the woods and get you away from them. So if you're getting closer to them and they're at risk of being seen, they're going to stop what they're doing. They're trying to intimidate you to get you to leave, making sounds, making noises, rocks being thrown, stuff like that, to try to intimidate you to get you out of that area. And if you don't leave and you start to approach them, they're going to shut up.
Eric Altman, we got him for one more hour here on Spaced Out Radio. What a show so far. We're going to continue with this talk of Area X. What the hell is going on there? UFOs, paranormal experiences, light orbs. Sasquatch, and more. We'll find out next. I think it's because they're wooing at you because you're so damn sexy out there. That's what it is.
I
So
don't know
damn
about
sexy.
that. I don't know about
Eric,
that.
I'm going to put you back in the green room for a couple minutes. I'm just going to take a quick break here outside the studio, and I'll be right back, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, be right back, Eric. What a show. Love Eric. All right. Bring Eric back in. Who's joined us here? Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got aliens. Who else has joined us here? Mongo McD, welcome. Commonwealth Andrew, nice to see you. I think we are caught up. Woo Train, how you doing, buddy? All right. Flat Six, nice to see you. Thank you tonight to Louie, Catherine, T-Bone times 2, and W. Decker for the great super chats. Very much appreciate it. And yes, I got my puffy vest on tonight. David Lopez, how you doing, buddy? Long time, no time. You having fun, Eric?
Oh yeah, I'm having a good time.
Penny Van wants to know where you got that hoodie.
I got it on Etsy.
Nice.
I was up in Sleepy Hollow, New York, 2 years ago. Went up for a weekend before Halloween, and loved the place and was intrigued by it. So I decided to pick up a hoodie.
Beautiful. All right, we got 5 seconds left, and here we go with hour number 2, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ultraism. Ultraism is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. We continue on tonight with our good friend Eric Altman. He is a researcher of all things strange and weird out of the state of Pennsylvania. We're talking about this new area he has that he's titled Area X, paranormal, supernatural happenings there. Man, let's get right to it, Eric. Thank you for being back again. It's been a while.
I'm glad to be with you tonight, Dave. Having a good time.
All right. So you have Sasquatch in that area. What else is hanging out there? You've mentioned that you've seen weird lights traveling through the trees. Have you had UFOs? Have you had Dogman? Have you had any other type of cryptid creatures?
Well, there's been something else seen there in Area X that doesn't fit the moniker or the description of a Bigfoot. And I don't want to give it too much away because it didn't happen to me. It happened to some of the members of my team that I should say both witnessed it. The only way I can describe it, what was seen by one of the witnesses, is a rake-like creature, something hominid type shape, upright on two legs but hunched over, long hanging arms, a grayish white color to its skin, but not fur on it, almost like a leathery or membrane type skin. The female witness watched it walk across the logging road that we see all these weird lights on. That happened just recently, about 3 months ago. She witnessed that. A male witness who's been up there, a member of our team, he's seen something in the trees, and other people have seen it too, parts of our research team, that they can only describe it as a predator-like creature. If you're familiar with Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, how it has the ability to cloak itself and seem like it's
Yes.
shimmering. They've seen
Yeah.
something like that high up in the trees, moving through the trees. They could see the outline of it, they could see the distortion, but they couldn't see any features of it. And that's not the first time people like that have claimed they've seen something like that. If you've had David Paulides on in one of his Missing 411 films, he has a witness who talks about seeing something like that up in the trees, a predator-like type of creature moving through the trees, and that's been seen
Yeah.
at Area X as well. I have no idea
Really?
what they are. I can't explain it, but there's been two different types of.
Like well, they've called that creature a glimmer man.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was seen by Susan Maccabee.
Yes, that's her name. I was thinking Dr.
Yeah,
Maccabee's wife. Right.
yeah. And I mean, the picture she got of that was incredible. Incredible. I mean, you imagine sitting in a deer stand about 15 feet off the ground, and you're sitting still, and all of a sudden you see this creature move up on you to the tree right beside you, and all it looks like is like a shimmering human being like figure. I
Yeah,
mean,
it'd be
that's just
terrifying.
how she was able to keep her composure. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's what the claim is. Several people have seen that in the tree line, right on that logging road. We've seen these strange balls of light. They've seen this glimmer man moving through the treetops, and it's been seen without a light source. In other words, just at dusk before it gets dark, they saw this thing moving through the treetops, and they didn't put a flashlight on it or anything like that. But yeah, I imagine if I would have seen that, I would have been freaked out and probably would have left. But I don't know what it is. And the rake like thing, I've sent pictures to the witness to try to compare, and she said it doesn't look like a gray, it doesn't look like an alien, but it had really long, lanky arms. It was grayish white in color. She didn't see the facial features on it just from the side as it ran across the logging road, but it was almost hunched over as it kind of loped across the road, and she saw it for just a few seconds, but she said she definitely saw it.
My goodness. That we haven't had anything like that at our area yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if it shows up because these things just seem to show up at all these hot spots, it seems.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And again, I don't want to say these things are all correlated or related or it's all one phenomenon, but there's something going on in this area that it's not just one phenomenon, it's multiple phenomenons going on. As I mentioned, the strange lights, the possible Bigfoot activity, these other hominids or creatures, whatever you want to call them, have been witnessed. And then there's the phenomenon of the strange mumbling voices that we've heard.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like people are talking, but they're talking in a hushed whisper and they're having a conversation, and you can't understand what the conversation's saying, but it's close enough to you that you can hear it. And
We've had that up here too. That
yeah,
is just that's one of the creepiest sounds when you hear people talking in the middle of nowhere and you know there are no other humans around.
yep,
And it's like
yep, exactly. It sounds like two people or three people carrying on a conversation. They're talking, but it's not loud enough or discernible enough for you to make out what they're saying. And I'm not the only one that's heard that. There's been other people. We've had filmmakers. We've had a very well-known TV show up in this area X recently. They've experienced some of the strange phenomenon. It's a bizarre place.
hmm. Have you had any instances of missing time while you're there?
Not in this particular. I haven't, and I don't know if the other witnesses have or not. I haven't really asked them if they have missing time. Um, I would have to reach out to them and see, but I believe if they would have had missing time or something happened like that, they would have let me know. So I don't think that's happened up there. Um, one of the other phenomenons that I was going to mention, and I don't know if this is something that you've had, is the strange metallic sounds that we're hearing in this area as well. And what I mean by that is there is a small old cemetery on the hill right above where we do our research. The stones date back to the late 1800s. Maybe the latest is like the 1890s, but there's about 10 or 15 stones in this old cemetery. And we set up at the bottom of the hill, the bottom of the wooded hill, in this little logging road pull off area. And one night while we were up there, we were investigating. When we were seeing the lights and hearing the strange sounds, one of the researchers began to whistle to try to get a sound response back from whatever was walking around the woods and around us. And we began to hear, every time he would whistle, we would hear this metallic tinking type of noise, almost like a single wind chime, or if you had an empty beer bottle and was hitting it with a knife, like glass tinking type of sound. And it seemed to be coming from all around us. We would hear it in one location, and we'd focus our attention on that area, and then it would go quiet. And then the researcher would whistle, and it would respond to him by making this tink. And we'd look around like, okay, where's the chain? Where's the wind chime? Where's the glass bottle? Because that's what it sounded like. And it went on around us for almost the whole night. Like it was teasing us or toying with us. And we'd try to focus on one area where we heard it. And we'd shine flashlights, and we'd go into the woods, and we'd have thermal FLIR and see nothing. And then we do the whistle again. It would come from a different location. And that happened a few times up there. Not as frequent as the lights or the other strange sounds, but that's something weird that's happened up there as well. We just have no explanation for it because there's no wind chimes in the cemetery. There's nothing up there that would make that kind of sound. There's nothing in the woods around us. There's no power lines, electrical lines. There's no poles, nothing like that that would make or be responsible for making that metallic sound.
Gee whiz. The only time I've ever heard something like that was in the Harrison Mills area. And everybody knows, if you're in the Bigfoot world, of Harrison Hot Springs, British Columbia.
Yeah.
And right in between, or right as you enter Harrison Mills, because it kind of forks. Okay, there's this mountain in between called Mount Woodside. And right on top of it, it's a nice secret little fishing hole, in case you, right at the top of the mountain. And a buddy of mine was camping out there one night. He's one of these survivalist guys, he has more guns than friends kind of person. And he everything he wears is camouflage. And we go fishing there on a Saturday, and then we have our fire, and then we pack up and leave. And he's like, "Okay, guys, I'll see you back in the morning." Well, we get there in the morning, and he's been up since 4:00, 3:30, 4:00 in the morning, shotgun right at his chest, right, like tight to his chest. And we're like, "What's going on, man?" And he run-ins with bears. And he's like, "No." He goes, "I don't know what the hell it was, but to get into the lake from the main logging road, it was maybe 200 meters. Okay. And he said from the logging road, it was like somebody was dragging a piece of metal along the road to the entrance to this lake. And we're not talking a public entrance. We're talking like if you didn't know the lake was there, it's one of those paths where if you didn't know the lake was there, you would drive by that rocky entrance. No problem. You wouldn't even see it or know where it went. But that metallic sound, you're only the second person I've actually heard talk about that metallic sound.
Yeah, it's very odd, and it's only happened a few times while we've been up there. It's not something that's reoccurring or every time we go up there. It only happened a couple of times, and that was it. And like I said, it sounded almost like a single wind chime, like if you were striking single wind chime, or an empty glass bottle, or even making a toast at a wedding. I make that tink, 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 tink with the silverware on the glass. That's what it sounded like, and it was coming from all around us. We kind of laughed about it after we left that evening. We were talking about what happened, and we were like, maybe something's up there is teasing us or toying with us, because Ricky, the researcher, would whistle, and shortly after he'd whistle, it'd make that sound, and it would be behind us, and we'd focus our attention behind us and start going into the woods and looking with FLIR, and it would stop, and then he'd whistle again, and it would come from a different location. We'd focus our attention on that other location and start to go into the woods and look and with flashlights and FLIRs and see nothing. And then we'd do the whistle again. It would come from a completely different location. So it almost seemed like whatever it was, and it might have been just our imagination. I really don't know, but many people heard it. So I just don't have an answer for what it was, but it was something odd. And one last thing, if I can bring this up, that we've noticed and we're keeping very good documentation on, is the equipment failures that we're having. And what I mean by that is batteries dying very quickly, and brand new fresh batteries put into equipment that dies almost the instant we get there. We've had drones being flown over the area that have malfunctioned and lost communication, started flying odd, wouldn't return to um, home base, almost like something was interfering with the drone in its communication with us. And as I mentioned, we had a very well known TV show up there just recently filming with us. And while we were there in the woods filming, one of the cameras just completely died. And the other camera remained working fine with no problem. But his camera, one cameraman's camera, just the battery was brand new. He said they last for 3 hours and it just died, completely went dead. So that's what we deal with up there. We deal with camera problems, audio problems, batteries dying, communication issues with drones. They even the TV show that was there tried to launch a thermal drone, and they were having problems with their thermal drone, not communicating and flying odd and erratic. And they noticed that while they were taking measurements, they had some really weird electronic spikes in what they were doing. So very weird stuff going on up there. I have no explanation for it. I don't know what's causing this phenomenon. And as I mentioned, I don't know if it's related or correlated, but there's some very strange phenomenon going on in this area that we call Area X.
My goodness. We got about 7 minutes to go here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Eric Altman is our guest tonight in Area X with these strange creatures. Are you getting a lot of UFO action as well?
Well, Area X is part of the Chestnut Ridge, and I know Stan's been on your show talking about the Chestnut Ridge, and I've talked about it before. There have always been UFO sightings over this the ridge where we're at, and Area X is just a small part of this 75-mile long western ridge of the Allegheny Mountains. So there have been UFOs seen in the area, not exactly over Area X because it's not a large area, but there have been UFOs seen over that county, that neighboring towns and small little villages all along there. And as the crow flies, I'm sure you're familiar with the Kecksburg UFO crash,
Yes.
Kecksburg, PA. That's only like 15 miles south of where Kecksburg is. So there's been UFO activity in that area going on now for decades. And it happens almost on a weekly basis.
In our area, we've had UFOs fly over. We had a triangle appear. And the funny part about it is the minute I started, it knew, Eric. And the minute I started to pull my phone out of my pocket to take a picture of it, it blanked out. Two of the three lights blanked out.
Wow.
And the other one faded off.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I understand the high strangeness of what you're dealing with because your area sounds very familiar to what we're dealing with here. Yours a little bit more active, but ours is just ours is a well-traveled area that just seems to uh never have been noticed, shall we say. And do you have any areas in your area X that just seem off limits to even walking over there? Because in our area, we have this one, I'm going to say it's in the shape of a cul-de-sac that in the daytime we'll walk in there, not a problem. Nighttime, it always feels like there's something in there that's extremely ominous that is just lurking, watching, and we don't go anywhere near there. Do you have an area like that?
Yeah, that ravine that I talked a little bit about, where we heard the consecutive nights of weird howling sounds coming from that ravine. During the day, we can go in there without a problem. It's a little hard to get through during the spring and summer months because it's so thick and overgrown. But the winter months, you can get down there pretty easily, and it's fine during the day. You don't get that ominous feeling, but at night, it's almost like you're reluctant to go into that ravine because there's something there that you don't want to see or you don't want to experience. It just gives off that vibe. And as I mentioned, we talked a little bit about this earlier, I think off air, that I'm not afraid of this stuff. I don't run from it. It doesn't scare me, but I get that ominous, very malevolent feeling. There's something there that doesn't want me to come down there. And I tried
Mhm.
going and tried getting as far as I could at night with a flashlight and a thermal flare. But after a while, I'm just like, I think I probably should go back to the truck. I might be a
Are
little bit better there.
are you armed when you're doing this?
No, I have bear spray and that's it. Bear mace.
Right. See, we're armed, but we are very cautious. Like when we get there, one of the first things we announce out loud is that we are armed, but these guns will only be raised for predatory apex predator animals, not for the Sasquatch or any type of other creature that's out there. It's only for the ones that aren't as smart, if I can use that term. Okay, like bears, like cougars, like moose, like wolf packs.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like if we
Right.
saw a Sasquatch, the gun would never be raised. Like when we back in October of 2022, we actually had a 10-footer in front of us about 100 yards at 9:30, 9:45 at night. And he was gorgeous, just gorgeous. But we would never raise our guns to him, not at all.
I think one of our team members may have taken a sidearm with him a few times he's gone out, but I'd never, 25 years in the woods, the only time I carry a rifle with me is when I'm deer hunting. I just, I never had the need to. I carry bear mace and I have a pocket knife, and that's about the extent of it. I've never had the need to draw it. Fortunately, I mean, I had a couple close encounters with bears, but usually they've taken off the other way, and I spooked them, and they spooked me, and that was the end of it. But we've had a couple run-ins with some coyote packs, and they get close. They seem to smell us and sense us, and then they kind of move off. So I've never felt threatened. I've never felt like my life was in jeopardy. In this area X, there's been some ominous feeling places that I mentioned that make you just want to stay out. And I think that's good common
Mhm.
sense to probably just stay out of there for the moment. But overall, I've never been scared or worried about going into these places armed.
In your area where you park and where you set up base camp, when you guys are out wandering around, do you ever, we got about a minute to go here, do you ever have anything lurking around your vehicles? Have you found footprints checking out what you guys are doing back at base camp?
We've never found any footprints around the vehicles. Um, we've had things moving around the brush right behind our trucks. We could hear it a couple of times. We were bluff charged by something. You could hear it coming at us through the brush, breaking branches very heavily and moving very quickly towards us. And then the last second, it just stops. There's been a couple occasions like that, but we've never found any physical evidence around our trucks or base camp to make us think that while we're out searching the woods or hitting trails, that these things are coming around our vehicles. At least not yet.
Hmm.
We're still hitting Area X almost on a weekly basis, and so who knows? We might have some luck in the future.
Right. Eric, we got you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We're having a blast learning about Area X and the experiences you are having. We may change it a little bit into some of the other creatures you've been hunting down, like thunderbirds. Spaced Out Radio with our special guest, Eric Altman from the beautiful state of Pennsylvania, returns right after this, the second half. gets going very, very soon. Stay tuned. We try to do everything the same. Our fire is in the same spot every time. We park in the same spot every time. We set up our lawn chairs in the same spot every time. Like everything we do is the same because I just have and I've talked to a few people who investigate that uh, with them being so curious but so skittish at the same time, they're really looking for continuity. At least the ones in our area are. And that's what we try and do is give them that comfortable continuity. So when they see, two vehicles parked back to back or sometimes three, they're not freaking out about it because they know it's us. And we always try to make sure that we take the same vehicles, so the sound is the same and everything like that. And if one of us changes vehicles, we kind of put it out there. Hey, sorry, I had to bring a different vehicle today. Anything to try and, ease them. Now, I don't know if they can understand it or not, but we try and do everything the same.
Well, it makes sense. You want them to get comfortable with you and kind of feel at ease. And we think that, and this is just all speculation on our part, but we think the longer we're there and the same people keep going back, and we're basically doing the same things that you're doing. We're not changing up things too much, but as long as we keep going back, we're starting to speculate that these things, whatever they are, the lights or if they're Bigfoot or whatever they are starting to become comfortable with us. And that's why they're starting to show themselves, like the thing in the tree, the predator glimmer man in the tree, or the weird hominid gray thing that ran across the road that the female witness saw. We think that they're finally becoming comfortable enough that they're showing themselves, and they're starting to do more and more things when we're out there. It's when we first started going, it was small things, like I said, it was things that caught our attention, but really
Mm.
didn't make us think maybe this is a hot spot, and that kind of changed over time. More and more things started happening as we kept going back and back and back, and I think they became comfortable with us and a little more familiar with what we weren't there to hurt them. We were just kind of there to observe them and hopefully record some of these sounds and videotape some of these lights. And we've been lucky enough. We have videotape of some of these lights. There's a show on YouTube that you can go watch. It's made by Small Town Monsters. Seth, um, I can't think of his last name right now, but he's the director and producer of the film. It's a 6-episode series called Sasquatch on Earth, The Ridge, and it's on YouTube, and you can watch and see the interviews from all of us. And there's Seth Breedlove, thank you. There's 6 episodes, and the second episode shows us in the field where he's captured some of these lights on film. He was actually blown away. He was like, "No way! There's got to be somebody on the road." He's shining his camera on it, filming it, and then when he turns the flashlight on, the light's gone. There's nobody on the road, and it's mind blowing. It looks like somebody's standing there on the road shining a flashlight right at you, pointing it right at your face.
Jeez.
And that happened to my son, where we had a red light and a white light shining towards us, surrounding my son. He's looking in the woods with a thermal flare, trying to see what making the noise walking around. The lights are flashing at us like flashlights, and we're like, "Josh, is that you? Do you have a flashlight?" "No." "Well, then where's the light coming from? Is that from the thermal flare?" "No, I'm not pointing at you, Dad." "Okay, then where's the light coming from?" And then the lights go out and there's nothing around him. So, I mean, that's happened to several times out there to several different people, but it's fortunately Seth got it on his episode of Sasquatch on Earth, The Ridge, is what it's called on YouTube. And I have audio recordings. I'd be happy to send them to you. You can hear the howls that we captured the 2 different days, June 3rd and June
Nice.
4th. And
Nice.
yeah, they're it sounds like something's mimicking the first night when we captured the sounds. The second night, something's mimicking it. It's not the same animal. So
Right.
we've been lucky to catch some of that evidence on film.
The night we saw our big guy, the 10-footer, we had way off about 15, 20 minutes later, way off in the distance, this giant Ric Flair type woo way in the distance. And then about 15, 20 minutes later, it was about half the distance than what the original one. And woo again. And people will often say, well, it must have been people out there. Okay, there had to be people out there. You have to understand where I live, and I'm not saying this to brag, but literally we are in the middle of nowhere where you're lucky to see 3 or 4 cars on the logging roads that day. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So here we go. Sorry, I got to cut it off. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, cryptid investigator Eric Altman is with us, talking about his new adventure in the Chestnut Ridge called Area X. God, I love the name. It just sounds so mystifying, Eric. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we came up with that name, and it's just right off the top of our heads. We didn't want people to know about this area because once word started getting out to other researchers, we were talking about just to ask them if they've experienced stuff. They wanted to know, where's this area at? Well, I can't really tell you. It's got a lot of X-File stuff going on in it, and that's why we came up with the name of Area X, just so we can keep it confidential, and we don't want a bunch of people, just the public, just coming into this area. First of all, it's private property. The whole mountain in that area there, the whole wooded section, is private property, and it's owned by an estate. So they don't want people just driving up there randomly and investigating, or just tromping through the woods. And secondly, if we have something special going on in that area, we don't want people to come in and start ruining it and littering and loitering and causing any possible future evidence to be tainted. In other words, we don't want to go up there on a Friday or Saturday night or Sunday night or even a weeknight and have 15 other cars up there doing research, and we're trying to do research too. So we try to keep it quiet and undisclosed. We don't want people just tromping around and making a mess of the area.
Yeah, and you don't need the tampering. You don't need, the hardcore skeptics going into that area and messing with it. You know what I'm saying? Or even not even the skeptics, just hardcore people who try and take over areas. And it's out there. You got to be careful, And I don't blame you. It's the same with our area. Have you guys camped out there yet?
No, we haven't been able to get permission to camp, but we have permission from the land manager to go up there, and we've been up there till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, just sitting out there in lawn chairs on the side of our base camp, or sitting in our trucks just listening, or hiking in the woods. We've stayed up pretty late in these areas, and we've gone up through 2 or 3 days in a row. We haven't camped overnight. I haven't really asked permission. We're trying to still develop a relationship with the land manager and get him to trust us and have him see that we're not there to mess up the property and to do any kind of damage to the forest or anything like that. So we may be maybe able to do something like that this summer, where we can put a pop tent up or something and just spend the night and see what happens.
Right. The reason why is I was always kind of curious about the fact or the idea that maybe if you stayed in a trailer or a tent, you would have some sort of close encounter interaction with them.
That's a good possibility. I mean, we've had some pretty interesting experiences just being there on site with the base camp that we have set up with the equipment and the trucks. the vehicles. Um, I think if we can get permission from the land manager and he's cool with it, yeah, well, that's something we could definitely try is putting up a couple tents, base camp there, and just camp and see what happens. Um, I'm game for it. Um, just have to get the permission to do it.
Have you put up any trail cams there?
We have. We put up a couple trail cams and we left audio recorders overnight up there, and nothing's been captured on the trail cams.
Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna try putting up trail cams in my area for the first time. I just got to be careful because there's a lot of logging going on up there in that area,
Right.
and you just got to be careful about everything. What's the environment like? What's the food sources up there?
Well, where we're at, there's a lot of wildlife, deer. There's a very large abundance of deer, coyote, small game, birds, and insects. There's a lot of berries, um, different types of berries that we've found up there. There's a small creek at the very bottom of the wooded area where we're at, the very bottom of almost the bottom of the mountain, very X that has some small fish in it, and I believe some frogs. And I think there's an ample food source there for any kind of animal to survive. I mean, we hear them. We hear the coyotes quite frequently up there. They're barking and howling. Um, yeah, I think it's a good habitat for any kind of large animal to live in that area. I haven't seen any bear yet, or any bear tracks, or any bear prints, but I know they're up there. I know they're in that area.
Right. And yeah, you always got to be careful of your natural habitat and what animals live there and call it home. That is for sure. What else have you experienced up there?
Um, well, I told you about this off air. Probably the most nerve-wracking experience that I've experienced happened um, involving my son. And he went up with us. He's gone up with us a couple times. And he's pretty much a non-believer. He just likes to go out with dad and check things out. And hey, dad, you're going to the mountains? I want to go too. So he'll jump in the truck and go with us. And one night we were up there doing our investigation, and as I mentioned, that small little side road that leads down to where our base camp is off the main logging road. Um, I had decided to walk up that road in complete darkness. No flashlight, no headlamp, no thermal flare, no equipment. I just wanted to walk up the road myself and see if I could experience anything or have anything happen to me. So I walked up about maybe 200 yards up the road and came to an area where it was kind of cleared out on both sides. And I just stopped. And I was just standing there in the complete darkness, listening and looking around and not seeing or hearing anything. And a few minutes, probably about 5 or 10 minutes later, my research partner, Tom, walked up the road and he joined me. And so the two of us were standing there in complete darkness, just chit chatting very quietly. Did you hear anything? Did you see anything? That kind of conversation. And my son starts walking towards us up the same logging road, and he has a thermal flare in his hand. He has no flashlight, no other equipment, just a thermal flare. And they have those on this thermal flare. It's probably a good 2-3 inch screen on it, and it gives off some light. So you can see him coming up the road, and you can see him stopping periodically, waving the light left and right on both sides of the road, looking for any kind of heat signatures. And he was coming closer and closer, and he got within about 50 yards of us. And he was stopped and he was looking into the trees. And all of a sudden, I see on his left side a white light, like someone shining a flashlight at us. And on his right side, someone shining a red LED flashlight at us. And I thought it was him. So Tom and I are standing there watching him and thinking, well, where did he get the red flashlight from? Because I don't have a flashlight with a red lens or a red um, ability that you can switch to. So we're watching him, and I yell out, "Hey, Josh, are you shining a flashlight at us?" And he responds back, "No, I'm just looking into the woods with a FLIR." We could see the FLIR screen, and it's pointed to his left side, but we still see these two lights aiming right at us.
Oh
I said,
my.
I'm like, "Josh, are you sure you do not have flashlights with you?" He's like, "No, I don't have any flashlights at all." And just as he said that, the light on his right side, the red LED light, went down to the ground as if somebody set the flashlight on the ground. It went out. The white light just clicked off and was gone. And we're
Wow.
looking at him, and both Tom and I started walking towards him, looking at my son, and he's still looking around like doesn't have a clue, like nothing's around him. And I said, "Did you see the white and red light around you?" And he said, "No, I didn't see any lights." I said, "Well, Josh, there were two lights on either side of you, a white light on your left side and a red light on your right side. You didn't see those lights at all." And he said, "Nope." And I looked at Tom, and Tom saw them, and we were like, "Okay, what the hell was that? And where did the lights go?" And that made me kind of nervous because my son is standing 50 yards away from us. We're seeing lights around him that are shining at us. He's not seeing them, and we have no source as to where the lights came from, where they went. I was just completely baffled. And I was a little nervous for my son that they were that close to him and he didn't see them. So that
Right.
was probably the most unnerving thing for me up on in Area X.
I couldn't imagine what my son would be like. I know he saw the one we saw in 2022. It's funny though, because if you met my boy, he never gets too high or too low. He's very even keeled.
Hmm.
So, like, if I were to say to him, "Hey, come on the air, son, and talk to Eric about our Sasquatch sighting," nah, don't think so, Dad. Why not? It's exciting. I know, just don't want to. And he's 10.
Yeah, my son's the same way. He's a little older than that, but yeah, my son. When you talk to him about that experience, he's like, I didn't see anything. I'm just looking around the woods with the FLIR. I didn't see any lights." I'm like, "Josh, they were both sides of you. How could you not see them?" "I don't know. I didn't see anything." And
You
he's just
had
real
one
nonchalant
job,
about
son. You had one job, son.
it. Yeah. So, yeah, Area X is a very strange area that we stumbled on by luck, pure luck. And there's some really weird things going on there. Maybe they're natural Earth lights that we're seeing. Maybe they're natural occurrences. I just don't know. I don't know. There's something going on there, and as I said, I don't know if they're correlated or related, but there's several different phenomena taking place in Area X, and it keeps us going back. And it's not just me going back; it's other members of my team. There are other researchers up there every weekend in some of the coldest, craziest weather. They're up there. 6, 7 inches of snow on the ground. They're driving these roads that aren't plowed, that aren't cleared off by any kind of plow truck or snow truck. They just go up there and they risk getting stuck up on the mountain to go to Area X and spend a night up there in hopes that something weird happens.
Well, I mean, it's if you have that carte blanche to get up there, you really don't need another place to go because you got everything in one area. I mean, you're very lucky to have that.
Hmm. Yep. And as I mentioned earlier, um, you'll probably be hearing more about Area X later this summer. Um, so just keep paid attention. You'll be hearing more about it. And if you want to see about our experience where we saw the lights on the road, um, if you go to YouTube and Google Eric Altman, there's some videos out there that you can find that show that some Sasquatch videos. So check it out.
I appreciate that, man. I really do appreciate that. What do you hope to find there? Why has this area all of a sudden turned into a real commitment to you and your team?
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and you mentioned, I've been doing this for a long time, over 25 years. I've always been looking for answers to questions that have never been answered, mysteries. I've always enjoyed a great mystery. And this area has things that have happened to me that I have not experienced anywhere else. I've been on hundreds of Bigfoot investigations, on paranormal investigations. I've seen a UFO. I filmed it with my iPhone. I think it's a UFO. It's not a plane or a helicopter, whatever it was. But I've had plenty of experiences over the years that scratch my head. This place has so much weird phenomena that I've never experienced until we started going there. It just keeps me coming back for more. And I want to learn more about it and see if I can continue to experience and maybe get some answers to what these lights are or what these strange sounds are we're hearing, the metallic sounds, or why there's energy spikes that we're recording in the middle of nowhere where there should be no energy sources at all. Why is our equipment malfunctioning when there should be no reason for the equipment to malfunction? Fresh batteries are put in. We're losing drone communications. Why is that happening? We want to try to get to the bottom of some of the strange phenomenon and see what it really it is. Is it all just natural phenomena that we're misidentifying? Is it something paranormal, supernatural? Is it cryptid? We just don't know at this point. But we keep having these experiences. We keep going back and trying to learn more and more every time we do.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do is keep going back, and that's what we do as well. Have you had any ghostly figures appearing in the trees?
I have not seen anything that I could say was ghostly figures. Um, I had a coyote run past me in the brush when I was trying to get my way down the ravine. That happened so fast that it looked like a ghostly dog. It was just so quick through the forest.
Mhm.
I think it was a coyote. It's just what I think it
Right.
was. It moved so quickly through the brush, it was gone, and I just saw just the back end of it, the tail and the back end just moving so quickly. That's the only thing that I've seen, but other people have said they've seen figures moving through the trees, like shadowy type of figures, not necessarily an apparition or a full-bodied apparition, just like shadows moving through the trees that look like humans, not necessarily a Bigfoot or a cryptid, but like a human-like shadow figure moving through the trees. That's happened to a couple of people.
My goodness. I guess you have, much like I do, just an area that you never know what you're going to expect the next time you're there. I mean,
Yep.
how much fun is it investigating an area that is that unpredictable?
Oh, it's a blast. We enjoy doing it. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm not trying to convince anybody of what's going on there. I'm not trying to sway people's opinions or people want to believe me, fine. If they don't, that's their prerogative to do so. I'm going back for myself. I'm going back to experience this for myself. I'm not trying to prove it to the world. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I want to see what's going on up there. And there are many nights, I'll be upfront with you, Dave. There are many nights that we've gone up there where nothing happened. We'd sit in base camp or we'd hike the trails, and it would be just a quiet night with typical wildlife sounds, the bugs, the tree frogs, you know, occasional coyote pack barking in
Right.
the distance. There are many of nights like that, but there's those offshoot nights that something weird does happen, and that makes going up to Area X all the worthwhile.
Do you get a lot of similarities and carryover?
To other places, not so much. This area is unique. This is area where I've seen the lights and heard the metallic sounds and heard the possible Bigfoot activity, the wood knocks and the tromping through the forest, but there's nothing there. Other places I've heard the mumbling or the whispering that we've talked about, the voices. Um, and a few other places around Pennsylvania, I've seen lights in the trees that I usually just wrote off as someone walking through the trees with at night with a flashlight or headlamp or a car in the distance, stuff like that. But nothing has kind of bled over from Area X to anywhere else that I've been familiar
Wow, that's a special location. Very special location. Are you going to keep milking this spot until the evidence runs out? Or are you just going to keep it, as a day by day project?
with. It's more of a day by day project for me because I don't want to focus all my effort and energy on this spot when there's so many other great spots in the Chestnut Ridge in southwestern Pennsylvania that I can be going to as well. And plus, I'm still investigating Bigfoot cases when they come in. I go check them out, or if there's some report of other strange anomalous phenomenon going on in the area that Stan lets me know about, I want to go check that out too. So I don't devote all of my time to Area X because there's just so much to do here in Pennsylvania to check out. But I do devote a lot of my time there, and I'll keep going as long as there's stuff going on there. If it starts to die down or starts dying off, then I'll focus my attention somewhere else.
Yeah, and I don't blame you for that. But I mean, when you have a area of comfort, you almost get the sense that you can call them in at any time. Do you get that too?
Um, yes and no. We've had some success doing the knocking and getting responses, and doing the calls and getting responses. And other times we've tried it and no luck at all. So I'm pretty certain, because of the number of sightings that have happened in that particular area, the surrounding area, and the activity that we've had in there. Um, there is. I'm confident in saying I believe that there's a Bigfoot, if not a family of Bigfoot, in that area, moving around. And I don't think it's just staying in Area X. I think it's moving around that area of southwestern Pennsylvania.
No dogman sightings?
Not in Area X, no. And no other cryptids other than what I talked about earlier tonight. No
Right.
Thunderbird sightings, or no Dogman sightings, at least not that I'm aware of. Um,
But you
maybe
have
that'll.
investigated. You have investigated the Thunderbird.
Yes. Yeah, I've looked into several cases recently in the last couple of years in southwestern Pennsylvania. Um, I had a gentleman get a hold of me that is a wildlife biologist, and he and his wife were sitting out in their backyard one day enjoying the barbecue pit and just kind of hanging out under the umbrella and the little deck table they have set up there. And they heard a whooshing sound, and were looking kind of around, and the husband's attention was caught by something large and black that was kind of soaring over his house, moving in the direction of a water reservoir. It's a private park that they use for reservoir for the area, taking water in, but it was heading in that direction. And he said it was the largest bird that he had ever seen, and he's familiar with a lot of the bird life and everything that's native to that area. And this thing, he estimated the wingspan to be about 14 feet. And he saw it. His wife saw it just as it flew out of sight. How majestic it was, how large it was, and it just kind of soared every so often, flapping its wings very slowly as it moved off into the distance and out of sight. And I spoke with him. Stan and I spoke with him at great length for almost an hour about his experience. He drew a little sketch of what he saw. So, wildlife biologist, he's never seen anything like that before. He was pretty convinced it wasn't anything native to that area where he lives at. We've had other people reporting the Thunderbird sightings as well, in the area. A gentleman reported to me this past April of 2023 that he was standing outside of a convenience store, gas station convenience store, and there was a storm moving in. The sky was getting pretty black, and he just happened to look up at the sky and saw this huge bird, much larger than a crane, much larger than a hawk or an eagle. He said it was massive, and it was just kind of soaring on the wind current. And every so often, it would flap its wings. And he said the strange thing about this was it didn't have feathers. It had like a black membrane or leathery type of skin to it. And almost, as he called it, it almost looked prehistoric as it flew over. Large talons at the bottom of it, and had a really long beak at the end of it. He said he'd never seen anything like it before, but he said, I don't know what it was. I've never seen it. And I don't know where it went. It just kind of flew south, out of sight, and just disappeared. So, yeah, we're still getting those reports. Stan's still getting the Thunderbird reports quite
Right.
frequently.
Do you think, as we got about a minute to go here, do you think that these are staying in or flying in and out of our dimensions? Because, dude, a Thunderbird that's 40 feet long is going to drop a major deuce that's going to paint a lot of stuff, man.
I've often wondered that myself. I don't have an answer for what the Thunderbirds are, where they're going, where they're coming from. I just know that people are seeing them and reporting them, and they're not like any bird that they've ever seen before. I have several dozen cases of Thunderbird sightings in southwestern Pennsylvania that I've looked into, and I don't think these people are imagining it or making something up. I think they're seeing what they're claiming they're seeing. Where they're coming from, where they're going, I just don't know.
Eric Altman, going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to wrap things up here. Hard to believe we're already through 2 hours tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Hour number 3 kicks off with Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. We're in for a good treat here as we go another hour here on the Mighty SOR. My name is Dave Scott, and you can join us every night right here for your listening entertainment. Come enjoy the woo. It continues next with hour number 3. Feel like continuing?
Yeah, sure. I can go on for a little longer if you like.
All right, my UFO person had a family emergency. Can't make it. You want to go to the top? You got another hour in you?
I can do it half an hour.
Let's do half an hour.
Okay.
So when we come out of this hour here, I'm going to play a quick 5-minute, not even 3-minute story, and then we'll get going right after that. Okay?
Yeah, I can. If you want to talk about some Bigfoot cases I've investigated recently, we can.
Yep, we'll do that. I'm just going to put you in the dark room here, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Be right back, people. All right, we'll bring Eric back in. Thank you for staying, man.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah. For our audience in our YouTube chat, do me a favor. We're going to take Eric to the bottom of the hour. And then that last half hour, any questions you guys have, fill it up with questions, and I will get the answers back to you. Oh, Cat Chaser, are you okay? We've missed you around here, my dear. Hope you're doing fine. We'll send you some love and prayers, hon. Excuse me. All right, big thank you to Dry Toast, Major League, T-Bone ×2, W. Decker, Mama Catherine, and Forrest Louie for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love, guys. We got 10 seconds, then we'll rock and roll here. 5 seconds.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Altruism. Altruism is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. On April 20, 2014, 21-year-old Melanie Marie James left her home in Farmington, New Mexico to search for a job and never returned. According to her mother, Layla Melman, Melanie was walking down the street when she disappeared. Melanie was known for her friendly and outgoing personality, which made it easy for her to make friends with everyone. She was also affectionately described as a goofball and was always lively and bright. According to Melanie's sister, the last confirmed sighting of Melanie was near McKinley Elementary School, located on 20th Street and Butler Avenue in Farmington. Melanie's sister saw her in the company of an unidentified man. Her sister did not recognize the man, and Melanie was no longer there when she circled back to the school. When Melanie failed to return home, her mother immediately called and texted her. It wasn't usual for Melanie to disappear for a few days without any communication, so her mother became worried. Melanie always got back in contact with her family after a few hours or day. This time, something felt off. Layla's motherly instincts kicked into overdrive, and after failing to reach her daughter or find her in the community, she sought the assistance of the Farmington Police Department. In an interview with the Durango Herald, Leela recounted how the on-duty police officer declined to take the report since Melanie had not been missing for more than 48 hours. Layla informed the officer that it had already been 2 days since she had last seen or heard from her daughter, but the officer still refused to file the report. According to Layla, the officer said, quote, "The clock starts from the time you walk into my office," end quote. Frustrated, Layla had to wait 2 more days before involving the Farmington PD. Melanie's loved ones and community members searched anxiously for her while waiting for the authorities. However, nothing was found during the search. Later in the investigation, someone handed in a bag, which possibly belonged to Melanie, to the Farmington Police Department. The bag was spattered with what appeared to be bloodstains and contained 2 phones and a letter addressed to Melanie. Whether the bag was analyzed or simply discarded and stored in the evidence locker is unclear. In 2015, there was a potential sighting of Melanie, but the location is unknown. Witnesses claim to have seen her at a family dollar store in September of that year. However, very little information is available about this sighting, and Melanie's case remains unsolved. Melanie Marie James is described as a Native American female with brown hair and brown eyes, standing 5'1" to 5'2" tall and weighing between 115 and 120 pounds. She has a spade tattoo on her right pointer finger knuckle and was last seen wearing a blue bandana shirt, light blue jeans, and black sneakers. Anyone with any information is asked to contact the Farmington, New Mexico Police Department at 505-599-1070 and reference case number 32011-14.
Thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, all you got to do is go to youtube.com/Among the Missing, and you can have them all there for free. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. We'd appreciate it. Now, we're going to forego the UFO report tonight because Courtney Marcassani is having a family emergency, so she's not going to make it. But good news is Eric Altman has decided to stay until the bottom of the hour and talk to us about some of this Bigfoot research. Eric, thank you so much for sticking around. We very much appreciate it.
Oh, I'm happy to stay. No, not a problem at all.
Your love is Bigfoot. Let's just call it that. I mean, there's you're a guy who has a lot of love to give, but when there's the love, man, it comes down to the Sasquatch and Sasquatch only. You're choosing a night of Sasquatch and over hanging out with me over a beer watching a football game. I can tell you that right now. You're that guy.
Yeah, that's my forte and has been my forte for uh, a good portion of my life.
What have you been working on? Tell us some of the stories you've encountered recently.
Well, we've had some recent cases in the last couple of years that have been pretty intriguing. The most recent one that actually Stan Gordon and I looked in together took place Mother's Day of last year, where a woman was out walking her dog not far from her house. She lives on a little country lane that has about 6 or 7 homes on it, and it's a dead end country lane. It sits on the base of the Chestnut Ridge in southwestern Pennsylvania. And one Sunday afternoon, she decided to go out on that Mother's Day and take her dog for a walk. And as she was walking along, I should say she had 2 dogs, not one dog, but she had 2 dogs she was walking. And she made it to the top of the country lane, decided to come back. And as she was walking just down this country lane, uh, wide open yard to her right, all of a sudden there appears this 7 foot, hair covered Bigfoot creature walking right towards her. And she stopped and, kind of in awe and shock, she just watched this thing walk right across the country lane in front of her, 15 feet away, walked into the tree line on the left and disappeared. Never even looked at her, never even acknowledged she was there. It was just, she said, and it made no sense to me when I investigated this, but she said it was just there in the yard to the right, and it walked across the lane right in front of me. Her one dog reacted, it froze solid in fear and refused to go any further, refused to back up or move. And the other dog that she was walking was just looking around aimlessly like it had no effect at all. It didn't even notice the Bigfoot. But it was within 15 feet of her, and she said it was massive, 7 foot tall and just massive in size. Walked right across the country lane into the tree line and vanished. And she wasn't a Bigfoot fan. She wasn't a Bigfoot believer or follower, But after that experience that she had on Mother's Day, it certainly changed her tune.
No kidding. How much of a close encounter was this?
Very close, probably about 15 to 20 feet away from her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Well, that's
very,
intimidating.
very close.
That's intimidating.
Yeah, and
Man.
yeah, it didn't scare her, and it didn't really have the effect on one of the dogs. The other dog was terrified. It froze in fear. She was just kind of in awe when she saw this thing just appear in the yard to her right, little open yard, and walked right across the road in front of her like it was she wasn't even there. Never paid any attention to her.
I have heard a lot of times when it comes to Sasquatch, a lot of big dogs, doesn't matter whether it's Rottweilers or St. Bernards or German Shepherds or Pit Bulls, Cane Corsos, whatever the big dog may be. But the minute they have a Sasquatch around, they seem to, dogs really seem to go into a real fear mode of even going as far as urinating themselves in places that they wouldn't normally do that. Do you get a lot of that in that area?
Yeah, we've investigated a case that took place. Actually, we just met the witness in February of 2023, and spent some time on their farm and talking to the husband and wife. And they have a dog it's a pretty big dog. It's a very sweet dog, not an aggressive or vicious dog, but it's a pretty big dog. It's like a, I guess you call it a black lab, but a little bit bigger than a
Yeah.
black lab. And they've had a couple of sightings on their property and incidences where they take the dog out into the yard to do its business at night before they go to bed, and the dog refuses to go off the porch, and it's growling, its teeth are bared, it knows something's in the woods, it won't go off the porch, and then a few minutes later the farmer will hear something crunching through the trees and a wood knock, and or a whistle or a growl. He'll know that they're there, and the dog refuses to go out into the yard to do his business. He'll pee right there on the porch. So yeah, we've had situations like that. As a matter of fact, Christmas Day of this year, I got a phone call from the farmer. He was taking his dog for a walk down the gravel road that leads from his farm to the main road, and he came across a very large single footprint. He said it looked like the creature was walking on the gravel road because there were scuff marks, but it stepped off the gravel road into a muddy area and left a perfect, pristine footprint. He sent me pictures of it. He said while we were walking there, the dog got to the footprint and stopped, refused to go any further, and then all of a sudden his attention was drawn to the ravine to them on the left, and it began growling, and he heard something down in that ravine growling back at them. The dog turned
Oh,
around and pulled him back to the house.
no way. No way. Wow. That is it really shows the power of these creatures when, dogs really aren't afraid of anything. They'll go after bears, they'll go after mountain lions and anything in their yard. But when it comes to something like a Sasquatch or a dog man, they absolutely freeze in fear.
Yeah. Yep. At least this dog did. It was terrified, and it still is to this day. Like I said, Christmas was the most recent experience that he had, and the dog is afraid to go anywhere near this thing. It just wants to avoid it at all costs.
No kidding. Wow. Wow. Other stories you've been working on, other cases that you've had come across your computer.
Well, I'll share this one with you because this is probably my favorite Bigfoot case of the 25 plus years that I've been investigating, and my least favorite Bigfoot case that I've investigated. And this happened May of 2020, and not far from Area X, as a matter of fact. And the story begins. I was going to bed that Saturday night, and I leave my cell phone on the nightstand next to my bed, plugged in, and I hear a ding go off on the cell phone, and I picked it up and looked at it. Was a Facebook message from a witness, and the witness said, "You're not going to believe this." And it's a little bit after midnight. I didn't want to get into a discussion with them. I wanted to go to sleep, so I put the phone down and went to sleep. And the next morning, I responded to the message, and it said, "What happened?" And the person responded, "I saw a Bigfoot." I said, "Oh, really? When did this happen?" "Last night." And I said, "Oh, well, okay. Well, tell me the details." And This witness proceeded to tell me that she's an ambulance. She's a paramedic, and her partner is a paramedic, and they were on their way back from a call to the ambulance station, which is not far from where they were, probably about a mile and a half from where they were. It's a very dark country road. There are some houses scattered on this country road, but not far from the ambulance base. And it's part of the Chestnut Ridge, and probably a few miles from Area X. And as they're driving down this road in the ambulance, they see a figure on the left side of the road standing on the berm of the road, and they with about 125 feet of this thing, and suddenly it takes off across the road in front of the ambulance. It takes three very large steps across the road and goes up the embankment. And they sit up pretty high in their ambulance. Their seats are up higher in the front of the ambulance. And she said this thing was all black. It had no clothes on it whatsoever. It was very tall. It was taller than the ambulance, and the ambulance sits about 7 feet off the ground. So it was taller than the ambulance. It took three very large strides across the road, hit the embankment on the right, and went up the embankment without an issue. Just right up the embankment very quickly and vanished. And as they passed the scene where this thing crossed, they had a horrible smell of a dead animal. It was just very pungent, very strong. It smelled like something like roadkill. And they went through it, and just in a matter of seconds, that smell was gone. So as they're driving down the road, she looks to her partner, and she doesn't want to say anything because she thinks maybe I was just seeing things. And the partner looks at her and says, "Did you see that?" And she said, "I was going to say the same thing to you." So she told me her story, agreed to meet with me that morning, and I went down to the location with my son. He wanted to tag along, and we met her at a pull off about 150, 200 feet from where she had had her sighting. And she proceeded to tell me in detail what she had seen the night before. This large, dark figure standing on the left side of the berm of the road, take three steps across the roadway and go up this embankment very quickly and disappear. So we went down to the location. There is a house there, but it's a house that's empty. It was for sale at the time. There's nobody living there. We did not find any tracks on the left-hand side of the road. However, we found very large impressions going up the bank on the right-hand side of the road. And we followed them up into the woods, and we lost the trail up in the forest because of leaf matter and branches and all that kind of stuff that wasn't very conducive for good footprints. But as we were standing there talking about what she had seen, we heard some very loud, high-pitched, almost screams come off of the wooded hillside to our left across the road, where she saw this creature run across the road in front of her ambulance. And we took measurements of the road. The road measured 24 feet in width from the left side to the right side. So it took three strides to get across a 24-foot wide road, which means 8 foot per stride. And a normal human takes 3.5 to 4, maybe 4.5 feet stride. Even when they're running, it's not that long. But whatever this thing was very tall, was dark in color, and had an enormous stride as it crossed the road. It left impressions going up the embankment and disappeared. Now, it sounds like your typical Bigfoot road crossing sighting, nothing special about it. Well, the reason I love this sighting and I hate this sighting is because for 25 years I've been investigating Bigfoot cases and looking for Bigfoot. I've never seen one. And of all people to have a Bigfoot sighting, my sister had a sighting that night in May of 2020.
Wow. What did your sister, feel about having that sighting? Knowing that her brother was a little cuckoo in searching for all this crap.
Well, the funny thing is she knew that I grew up with an interest in Bigfoot. Her interest has always been in UFOs and ghosts, more in ghosts than anything else. But she never had a real belief in Bigfoot. And she knows that I'm into the subject, and I research and go out, and I've been all over the world, all over the country looking for these things. And she was like, I never had a belief in it, but now I know for certain that they're out there. And she knows I'm not crazy now. She still thinks I'm a little cuckoo, but not crazy when it comes to looking for Bigfoot.
That is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. What's your dream encounter?
My dream encounter, um, I would like to see one of these things face to face, and not just a glimpse of it running through the woods or the forest where I see something brown and upright moving quickly. I would like to see one of these things where it's in the open and I can get a good look at its face, its arms, its head, the whole 9 yards, the whole creature itself. and to have an interaction with it where it just doesn't run off, and that's the end of the sighting, where I can observe it, watch it doing whatever it's doing, however it's behaving. So I can definitely put to rest in my mind that these things truly do exist. Until I have that definitive sighting where I can say, well, I saw one in the open, I'm always going to question the legitimacy of these animals.
I want, if I could have my dream, I just want to be sitting on like a lawn chair, or sitting on a rock minding my own business, maybe meditating or something like that, and have one walk by. Like I'm talking 10, 15 feet.
Yeah, that's
Nice and
cool.
slow.
Yep.
I just would love to be that close, that in tune with the creature, where I could just let it know that I'm extremely thankful. Rather than, oh, there it is, I got to go chase it in the forest. And by the time, my puffy little legs get there, because I got these short penguin legs. Okay. By the time my legs get there, this thing's long gone and having a beer 5 miles away. Right. But I've just always dreamed that one of these days, and I've now seen three of them. I've interacted with a number of them, but three I've seen with my eyes. And I don't know, man. I just want that encounter. Just want that peaceful Zen-like encounter where it's kind of like, hey, dude. And you're like, hey, dude. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but that's what I put out to the universe, man. And you never know. Sometimes the universe answers.
Yeah, I'd like just to see one. I've seen fleeting glimpses in the forest. I can't say it was a Bigfoot. I've had numerous encounters, both vocal encounters, something moving around in the tree line that's breaking brush and stomping around. I've had rocks thrown at me. I've seen the footprints in the ground on several different occasions over the past 25 years. I'm fairly convinced that these animals are real and they're out there, but I need to have that definitive sighting to say once and for all in my head, yes, they are real. I know I saw it. Um, I've talked to so many eyewitnesses over the years, hundreds of eyewitnesses. I've investigated hundreds of cases. I know there's something out there. I know people are seeing something. I, I've experienced something myself, but until I have that definitive sighting where it's definitely in the open and I can say without a shadow of a doubt, that's what it was. I'm always going to have that little bit of skepticism. And I think it's good to have a
That's
skeptical
fair.
mind. Yeah,
Absolutely, that's fair. You know, I just think that one day you're going to get it, man. You're putting yourself in the right situation. I think you're going to get it. Bring a lawn chair.
yeah.
Just crash on the lawn chair for a while.
Well, I
That's my
certainly had my share of weird experiences out in the forest, especially in Area X. But I keep going out year after year, day after day. Even if I have the internet silence and I'm not in social media contact with anybody, I'm still hitting the woods. I'm still going out there doing my thing. And like I said earlier, I'm not out to impress anybody. I'm not out there to convince of anybody, make them believe me, prove to anybody that this thing is out there. I do it for myself, and it's for my own
good,
self satisfaction.
as the way it should be. A lot of people are, we get a lot of people here who are like, where's the proof? Where's the proof? Where's the proof? And in the end, sometimes the only proof you need is for your own eyeballs.
Right. And that's proof enough to me. I don't need to prove it to anybody else. And I'm not trying to. I'm just going out there and what I can find, I can find. And if I get evidence, I'm happy to share it.
Eric, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, there's a couple ways actually. They can go to the Pennsylvania Bigfoot website, the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society at pabigfoot.com. We have a big event coming up in September, the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Adventure. They can find us there, and more information about that at pabigfootcampingadventure.com. People can go out and look for Bigfoot and listen to guest speakers. It's a big outdoor charity fundraiser event. And they can also get a hold of me on my personal website, which is ericaltman.net.
Love it. Eric Altman, thank you for your gracious return to Spaced Out Radio. We'll talk to you in a few months. Coming up next, We're going to take some audience questions. Anything on tap you want to talk about, put it in our chat room in capital letters. We're going to the top of the hour here on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. Great job tonight, buddy. Appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, Dave. It was fun. I'm glad we were able to shoot the breeze and talk about some weird stuff tonight.
We got to get you over this way, man. I'd love to show you our spot.
Maybe one day. I've made it as far north as Washington State. I spent some time up there, Cougar, Washington, and Oregon, and California, but I have not been to British Columbia.
It's only 4 hours more north.
I got to get back out west again.
I know. All right, buddy. I'll let you go get some sleep.
All
Thank
right,
you
Dave.
very much. You take care, okay? Be safe out there.
Thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. Eric Altman, everybody. Okay, get your questions in capital letters. Anything to do with what we talk about. Okay. Help old Davey out. This is where you got to participate. Otherwise, it's going to be a very boring half hour. Get those fingers going. How's the beard, Coop? Give us an update in the chat room if you don't mind. Always good to see you here. -13 Celsius. Total t-shirt weather. Keep the questions coming. T-Bone, if you want to get yourself tattooed with our logo, I would love it. Maybe I'll even join you. How about that? How about in Reno we get it done? Good night, Mama Catherine. Sleep well, my dear. You're doing great, Wild Man's mom. You're doing great. Thanks, Major Lee. Who's on After Hours? I wonder who that is. Well, let me tell you, it's Sweet Robbie G. Sweets is going to bring you some fantastic episodes this weekend. Yep. Roderick Martin on Saturday, Preston Dennett on Sunday. Yeah, good old Sweets is going to have you. He's getting ready. He's warming up for Reno right now. He is. Thank you tonight to T-Bone with a hat trick, Dry Toast, Major Lee, Louis, Catherine, and W. Decker for the super chats. Yes, my nose whistles. Here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We're going to have a lot of fun here this next half hour as we are going to get to some audience questions just about everything that's going on. But before we do, I want to remind all of you, because everyone is invited. Whether you're listening in Radio Land, Podcast Land, YouTube Land, okay, everyone is invited to our third annual SOR fan party. This time it's going to be in Reno, Nevada, May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. Look, we do this event for all of you because if you go to a UFO conference or a paranormal conference or a cryptid conference, a lot of times you pay a lot of money, like $200, $300, $400 plus, and you don't even get to meet the people who you want to meet or maybe get an autograph from a book. Not at our event because it's not a conference. We're going to bring in a bunch of people who you hear on this show, like Jim Goodall, legendary aviation historian, Michael Schratt, Geraldine Orozco, Melinda Leslie, the entire SOR team is going to be there. We're going to bring in Carter Bouchard to talk some Bigfoot. We're going to bring in Merle, so he's going to be around talking ghosts all weekend long, and many, many more that are coming to Reno to hang out with you at our third annual SOR fan party. VIP tickets are $100. Our regular tickets are $60. And this is how the weekend breaks down. It starts on Friday, where we're going to do a live radio show from Reno. We've got a nice room booked for all of you to hang on out. VIPs will get a swag bag right then and there. Then, after that, we go to the VIP party, where we're going to hang out all night long. All of our special guests are going to be there hanging out with you, and we want you to hang out with them. Saturday morning, Merle is taking people on a adventure to Virginia City for a ghost walk and tour. That night, Melinda Leslie is going to take everybody on a UFO skywatch. Sunday, if you're not going home and you're staying till Monday, well, guess what? We have a party day planned. Whatever you want to do, we're going to hang out and we're all going to do it. So make sure you check it on out at info@spacedoutradio.com. Tickets are at info@spacedoutradio.com. Book them today. Hotels are cheap at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. Make sure you book now because we're going to have a lot of fun. Let's get into some audience questions here. We're going to start off in the UK with Major Lee. Dave, do you think it's possible Sasquatch may be a human hybrid or an experiment. I don't think it's an experiment. I really don't. I think this is either a, like the First Nations people say, a very supernatural creature that still feeds off of things like rabbits and hogs and chickens and all that kind of stuff and berries, but still a very supernatural creature. Or I don't believe it's Gigantopithecus. I don't believe it's the missing North American great ape. It's too smart for that. Way too smart. But if it was a flesh and blood creature, I would say that it is something we don't know about. We always want to tie things to the past. I don't think Sasquatch is there. I really don't. I don't think it's evolved over the last 50, 100,000 years. Okay, I think it's always been here, but it may not be from here. So let's check. Let's say it could be, but I don't believe it's a human hybrid or an experiment. That's just my opinion. Thank you, Major Lee. Let's go to Amy. Have you ever taken a news reprieve like your guest did? No. No, I'm not. I've taken the odd week off. I've taken the odd week off on Spaced Out Radio just for maintenance purposes, holiday. But the unfortunate part about what I do, being a media outlet, a media show, a radio show, a podcast, live YouTube channel, is you always have to be there. You have to provide that consistency for the audience that the majority of other programming out there does not. So you're always on the go. You're always making something happen. You're always making sure that your radio, like for us, we have to make sure our radio affiliates are always at number one in our hearts before we worry about the podcast section or the YouTube section. Because those people who work at those radio stations are relying on us to make sure we have a show ready to go for them. So we're always going to push hard. And besides, you, the audience, want us to push hard. You want us to get great stories like Eric Altman's. You want us to make sure that we bring you new guests and those who have been doing this a long time. So that's what we do. There's no time for a break. Not around here, at least. Let's go to Scott up in the Yukon. Have you ever been lost in the woods? Once. And it was only about 5 minutes. I took a bunch of people to my Sasquatch site, the original one. And I showed them where our gifting site was. We checked out our gifting site. Nothing really had moved. And then I showed them where we had found a footprint prior. And coming out of where we found that prior footprint, I started looking around and everything looked the same. All of a sudden, I had no sense of direction. I didn't know where my vehicle was parked. And we're only about 400 feet into the forest. And I lost everything. Lost every sense of direction I had. And I'm usually pretty good like that because certain people like to tell me where to go. But seriously, there is nothing scarier than being lost in the forest when everything all of a sudden looks the same. And I was able to thankfully get my bearings when a truck came up the logging road. And then I was like, oh yeah, there's a logging road. Put me in that direction. And we were able to get out safe and sound. But I got to admit, I was worried there for a few minutes. And I started to panic. But thankfully, I was able to calm myself down. Let's go to Wild Man's mom. How close can you get so he can camp for a few days, let them come home to him? I'm not sure what that question actually means, but I will answer it the best that I can. I would like to get about 15, 20 feet from a Sasquatch. I want to be able to see its eyes. I want to be able to see its facial features. I want to see it give me the middle finger just in case it wants to. Or maybe like a, hey, how you doing? You just throw your hand up. One of those. I'd accept one of those. I totally would. Let's go to Vanessa. Do Bigfoot use a cloaking technology, or is the cloaking a biological adaptation? I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this. What if, I'm going to throw this out there. What if Bigfoot has hollow hair? Much like deer or polar bears, seals. So that way they don't go cold. And because their hair is hollow, it can easily change colors to blend into its environment, looking like it's camouflaged or cloaking. Now, in hair samples that have been tested, we haven't heard whether or not they are hollow. It'd make it very interesting if it was. I think, to be blunt, my answer to that is I think these cryptid creatures, not just Bigfoot, have some sort of vibration technique to them that causes all the photos and videos to be blurry. That's what I think. I don't know what it is, whether they're shaking at a rate, maybe their heart rate is running really high, causing the body to shiver. I don't know. But it is a cool concept to kind of think about. Because I really do not believe, once again, like I stated, that Sasquatch is a flesh and blood Gigantopithecus. I just don't. You can, not me. You're allowed. Let's go to, let's see, Glade. Info on mists associated with Dogman. Isn't it weird how these mists seem to float around these creatures? Now, I haven't heard it happening around Dogman or Sasquatch, but I have heard it happening around UFOs. I've been in a situation personally with a UFO landing, and it was very misty out. I think the reason why it happens is because it's a cloaking device. It's an easy cloaking device if you can manipulate the atmosphere to cause moisture to build up in it towards a mist or a fog that you can hide in, get away in, whatever it may be. That's what I think. Can Dogman use it? Maybe. I really don't know. It's an interesting concept to think, but I really don't know, Glade. But it is a great concept and a great way for the creature to get away and hide. That's for sure. Let us go back to Wildman's mom again. Do you think they can see an infrared? I think that Sasquatch has very powerful cat-like eyes at night. That's why it does a lot of its roaming at that time. Whether they see an infrared or not, that's a tough call. We need eyeballs to test that. But for the meantime and in between time, no, I do not believe they can see an infrared. I'll put my money on that. T-Bone is asking, do I have permission to get the SOR logo inked? T-Bone, only if I can join you. Only if I could join you, because tattoos are addicting, and I'm ready to get another one. Let's go to Amy. Do you prefer no beard now that it's happened? No. Gonna grow it back. Gonna grow it back, and hopefully fast. I got a story for all of you. Happened right after the show last night. I went to bed. I had a dream. And I was in a dark alley or a dark room with my father and two of my old buddies. And I put my phone down, but I didn't have an iPhone. I had this old indestructible Nokia phone. You know, the ones about 3 inches long back in the 90s, early 2000s. You could literally run them over with a steamroller and they still wouldn't break. Ah, the good old days. Well, as in my dream, I'm laying there and I go to pick up my Nokia cell phone. But right before I do, what caught my attention was it started ringing. The ringtone was doo, 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 doo. And as soon as I heard that ringtone, I dropped the phone and started feeling this everlasting pull of gravity, like I was being sucked up. Yeah. I think I went on a ride last night. Didn't see anybody. Don't know how long it lasted. It wasn't long because I woke up in bed at 2:09 a.m. I turned over my shoulder a little bit because I still had the feeling the beings were in the room. And out of the corner of my eye, out my window, I was able to see a flash of light come down from the sky above my house and quickly lit up my patio. How creepy is that? So I said to the missus, I said, I think I got taken and I just got back. She goes, what? I said, I think I got taken and I just got back. I had to go to the bathroom. Go figure. So I slide off the bed, put my feet on the ground, and all of a sudden I start shivering like I have hypothermia type shivering. I run to the bathroom, I take a pee, because that's what you normally do in those situations. Make sure there's no stragglers left on the toilet seat, no puddles on the toilet seat, because I'm that kind of guy. And then I started getting ready to head back to bed. Problem was, it was too cold, so I hopped in the shower and then went to bed. Here's the interesting part about this, part 2. I called up my dad this morning. I said, Dad, how'd you sleep last night? He goes, good. I said, what time did you wake up? He goes, about 7:15. I said, no, before that. I said, did you wake up in the middle of the night? He goes, yeah. I said, what time? He goes, just after 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh. Because when I woke up, it was 2:09. I'm like, oh, okay. That's interesting. I said, did you feel anything afterwards? He goes, yeah. He goes, I woke up because I felt really cold. So I went and grabbed another blanket and threw it on top of me. It's my dad quoting this morning. So here we have me and my dad 4.5 hours away, and we're starting to experience the same thing. Then something else happened where, as you all know, I'm trying to improve my health. And if you're overweight like I am, all of you should be trying to improve your health. Don't listen to what the wokers say. Improve your health. It's better for the living thing. Okay? So that's my diatribe for the night. But I ended up saying to Dad, I said, you know, what happened to them in the morning? He goes, I don't know. He didn't know. So we end up sending Dad, talking to him on the phone. And I said to Dad, I said, okay, how did you feel this morning? My dad like smoked cigarettes for like 60 plus years, and he recently quit about 2 years ago. He said, to be honest with you, I only had no pain for the first time in months. No pain. It was gone. It's kind of cool. Very kind of cool that I think I got healed from some of my health issues. I think my dad probably got healed because it all happened. Okay. When I talked to him, he told me everything that happened, and our stories are bloody similar. It's kind of cool. Very kind of cool. I'm going to be looking into this a little bit more, but I think I'm on the right track. So thanks, Daddy-O, for helping me get to that spot. So we needed, people. Make sure that we had that final spot in order to make sure we knew what was going on. Was it real? Was it Memorex? It felt real. Could have been Memorex. But a very interesting story indeed. Want to say a big thank you to Eric Altman tonight. Longtime researcher of everything paranormal and supernatural. And just an all-around good guy. Let's just be honest. All-around good guy. I would buy him a beer. Totally. I hope you would too. Yeah. All right. Time to wrap things up. Don't forget Sweet Robbie G this weekend on our YouTube channel. 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. He's always out for a good time. So is Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone else at Elgab, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. All right. That was a good show. Very good show. Hope you had a good time. I know I did. I'm going to be calling it the night here. Really tired. So thank you tonight to T-Bone with a hat trick, Forrest Louis, Major League, Dry Toast. Oh, Major League again. W. Decker and Mama Catherine. Love you all. I will see you on Monday after 2 great shows lined up for a sweet Robbie G, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, only right here on Spaced Out Radio. So go cheer them on. You'll be happy that you did. And really, who really wants Detroit to take them out? See? It's already started to nod off. So on that note, I'm going to say goodnight to all of you. Enjoy Rob this weekend. And my guest next week, Lon Strickler on Monday, Phil Webster Tuesday, Sean Burris Wednesday. Still looking for a Thursday guest. R. Keith Andrews on Friday. We got a great lineup here, guys. So let's make sure we bring our best. On that point, I'm going to say goodnight to all of you. You have a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.